Excuse me? No, I'm wrong. I'll be riding down and ask for money. No, I'm getting my car. I'm living. Still working football season. After football season, you'll probably see. But no, physically and it's fine. Physically and mentally, I'm fine.
I'm pretty sure, yeah. Yeah, I lost it. Okay. Well, you know, I tried. I get to walk with two bodyguards now. It's the order they were received. Okay.
Good evening. This is a meeting of the Southfield Board of Education in public for the purpose of conducting the school district's business and is not to be considered as a community meeting. There are two opportunities for public participation during the meeting, and comments are limited to 3 minutes per individual. The board will listen to comments but may not respond during the meeting. If you wish to address the board, please submit a comment card immediately. Roll call. Ashanti Bland, President.
Yvette Ware Duval, Vice President.
Good evening, Leslie Love Smith Thomas, Board Secretary.
Darrell B. Joyce, trustee.
Talisha Belk, trustee.
Jillian Holloway, Trustee.
Mantrell Goodrum, Student Representative.
Good evening, Amani Johnson, Board Treasurer.
May we all stay, oh, I'm forgetting about you, Dr. Green.
That's okay. I can excuse myself.
No, ma'am.
Okay. Dr. Jennifer Green, Superintendent. Taking minutes this evening is Ms. Carolyn Foster. Our technical support is being provided by M1 Studios, and all the members of our Executive District Network team are present in the audience as well.
May we all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Public participation. If you wish to address the board regarding a school-related issue that has not yet been resolved by school administration, please submit a comment card immediately. Comments are limited to 3 minutes per individual. As a matter of fairness, speakers with complaints against individuals are asked not to mention any persons by name. Complaints concerning employees pursuant to Board Policy 9130 should be brought to the attention of school principals or other administrators before coming to the Board of Education. Your cooperation is appreciated. Rabbi Jacobson.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I'm a teacher, so I know what it's like to go first. My name is Rabbi Tzvi Jacobson. I'm here tonight representing Yeshiva Darchei Torah. We are a Orthodox day school. We are located right off the corner of 12 Mile and Lazar. We've been serving the Southfield community for just about 40 years, and we actually have this year our highest number, about 540 students. Because of the amazing growth of Southfield and the location of our building, we actually have been looking for a second location. And last year, when the Southfield School Board was arranging their new bond, 4 properties were put up for sale. One of them is the old busing school right across from Southfield Lathrop. It's a beautiful property. The building is derelict. It has to be torn down, unfortunately. It's not the code. No one's been there for years. And the lawyers for the Southfield School Board said that the asking price was $700,000, and we said fine. We submitted the ask. At the time of the vote, we were the only offer on that property. There are actually 4 properties for sale. Only 3 did the board accept, and the 4th property, unfortunately ours, was not accepted. It was voted down 4-3. So I'm here tonight to ask the board members, because I've been doing some research, speaking to people, and it seems there are some concerns. I've emailed everyone, I've sent letters, and I would like the opportunity maybe to sit down for coffee with anybody who would like. I've sent you my email, letters. Please contact me, and I would like to take care of any cares, concerns that you may have to show you that we would really be a good steward. I've spent some time. I've met with the HOA in the area, and they're also behind us. We discussed sharing the fields on weekends when we're not there, evenings. We would love the neighborhood to watch out for us. I've been speaking not only to the HOA, I've spoken to Yolanda, spoken to other community members who asked not to be mentioned, and pretty much from all my conversations, everyone is behind us. And all I can ask tonight, I know you don't have to answer me, but I would like to ask the board to reconsider and re-voting to sell that property to Yeshiva Darchei Torah. And as my time is just about up, obviously, if you want to ask me questions now, I'll take them. And if you don't, I'm hoping that you will communicate with me. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Mr. Gunther? You got it,
stay
Miss?
where you are,
We
sir?
can bring it to you.
Okay, all right.
My name is Harmon Gunther. I live at 19101 Green Spruce, right behind MacArthur School. The old Bussy. The old Bussy. Oh, yeah, all right. Yeah, all right. Okay, anyway, I try to be a good neighbor to the school, but because of, there's a walkway between my street and the school property. One of my residents noticed some windows broken out, and I called the school board and everything went fine. The next thing I know, the lawn people are there. So I called Mr. Current and asked, make sure that they mow the walkway or weed whack the walkway, because we have some invasive plants that go there. And I want to thank him very much for getting his crew out there the next day and weed whacking and everything. You know, it looks beautiful. You don't have to do it for another month, till all those weeds come back. Now, like I said, the school's been closed for quite a few years. And every time I ask Dr. Green what's going to happen to it, and she says, well, we want to put an academy in there to refurbish the school. Then find out through the rabbi that they were going to sell the school, and he made an offer. He came to our HOA board meeting and explained the situation as he saw it. Now, it seems to me that that they are willing to tear the school down, build a new building in the same footprint, keep the playscape, take care of the lawn area, let the neighborhood enjoy it, give us a room for our meetings like there used to be. And so I'm hoping that issue can be resolved. But here again, I'm glad that Mr. Current took care of my immediate concern, and I'm very grateful to him for doing that. Thank you.
Chastity and Patrick Jones.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Good evening.
I'm Chastity, and this is my husband, Patrick, and I'm sorry. I'm emotional. I've never had to come before you guys before when I'm upset. My son was a football player on Southfield A&T's football team. They had a football camp the week of August 7th. My son was severely injured by another team member from this team, the school team. I've been reaching out to talk to someone to get disciplinary action taken against any coaches, chaperones, or players that were involved. I've been not contacted. I have sat down and spoke with the actual principal. Thank you. I spoke with the actual principal, but no disciplinary action has been taken at all. My son has had fractures to his face, the flooring of his orbital optical. He just had surgery yesterday, a month later, to fix his eye flooring because his eye had been pushed back so far that it was dropping. He's got fracture to his face still to this day, fractures to his nose to this day. And I just found out that this student that did this actually played in the game on Friday. The only disciplinary action, to my understanding, that has taken place is that he missed 2 games. Nothing further has been done. I'm highly upset. My child has been a student here since a freshman. He went to Thompson as elementary. We've been Southfield residents for a long time. To my understanding, this really has nothing to do with it, but it plays a part on wondering what's happening with our school systems, where we're wanting to win a game so bad that we bring students in from another school district and then they treat our children from the district a certain kind of way. To my understanding, this student came from another completely different school district. I'm frustrated, and I know I only have a short amount of time, and I don't expect a full answer or explanation from anyone today, but I just felt like I needed to bring this to you guys' attention, because I'm sure you guys don't know, because I'm sure somebody here has children, and you guys understand how it feels to look at your child face this totally just not the way that you sent them to a camp, and then they come out to you. And let me just mention one thing really quick. No, this incident happened at 10:30 on Thursday night. My son was not able to contact me until 2:30 Friday morning. I then took him to emergency myself. I then made a police report at that point. All of these things we've been taking action on, and nobody's been reaching out. Nobody said, I apologize. Nobody said, we're looking into this. We're doing anything. And now I'm upset about it. And I just wanted to bring this to you guys.
Thank you. Marie Banks.
All right. Second time I've spoken, and it's a heavy feeling right before I speak, but God is good, and he always protects and carries us, and I pray for you and your family. I'm here today. My name is Marie Banks. I live in Farmington Hills. I have 2 daughters at university. I just wanted to say thank you, first of all. As a board, as a PTA member, we wrote you all. As a parent, we spoke to board members about the transfer of Ms. Pope out of university, and you all acted immediately and brought her back to the school. And she was a dance teacher there. She is a dance teacher there. And we had a lot of dancers, and, you know, university is always branded as a school that doesn't have extracurriculars. So it was really important that you all took care of that situation, and we thank you for that. I also noticed on the agenda, there are a lot of agenda items addressing the bond issue, the bond, and I don't want you all, I know university has a 4-year plan to be torn down and revisited, but there's some immediate changes that we urge you all to consider, one being the PA system. There's no way to contact students in case of emergency if there's an intruder in the building that works effectively. So I think that you all would consider some emergency funding for the board for that. And lastly, I wanted to bring up athletics. On a positive note, my daughter was very excited. Both of them were very excited when they saw the AD at their school this week and recruiting students. And that, again, we're addressing the issue of not being a balanced school sometime. And although my children have had a very great experience as far as being a part of the sports department at Southfield A&T. I just appreciate the presence there. But I also wanted to lift up the assistant athletic director who ran the middle school sports. My daughter played basketball and ran track. It sparked the interest so much that she continued playing sports over the summer and desperately wanted to transfer to university so she could stay there and be a part of high school sports when she graduates middle school. So I just want to give kudos when things are going well, when things are being done well. The assistant athletic director is taking students to college. On our girls' basketball team, we had 2 girls that were the valedictorian at university, one at A&T. They're both on full scholarship at University of Michigan, along with another student from A&T. So she, as a coach, really promotes academics and athletics, and is really mentoring these girls, even if they don't want to play in college. So I thank God for the athletic department, both the director and the assistant director, and the administration at university. We had a bumpy start, but we're back on board, and my girls got all their syllabuses and bringing home homework, and we're getting back to the university way, and I'm just really thankful, and that's it.
Thank you, Ms. Banks. Moving forward to board matters. Trustees, do you have any board matters? I will go last. Trustee Smith-Thomas?
Thank you. Good evening, everyone, and welcome back. I have board matters as it relates to board. I sent our board president after hearing from quite a few people within our community and stakeholders within our school district. I sent her some policies to review as it relates to our instructional I would say liberties and responsibilities, and we're going to review those further. I just wanted to make mention of it here in case there are some of the stakeholders who are tuning in, so they're assured that it is on the radar, and so additional information will come for us to review and study in upcoming study session. Just specifically those policies as it relates to what I'm concerned about. Our early graduation is something that has been lifted in the community, as well as dual enrollment with Oakland Community College and how we are partnering and better leveraging any type of articulation agreements to support the scholars in being enrolled in the program, especially since Oakland Community College is here within our neighborhood. I am pleased to hear, not to respond to any of the remarks that came forward, but I'll just say I'm pleased to hear that there are some positives happening with our athletics. And I want to just send my well wishes to our volleyball girls as my daughter's out playing and been getting some videos and pictures and everything because she knows I'm here. So I am definitely looking forward to hearing the full comprehensive report from our athletic director as I kind of started my year off at many of the games, and as many of us have. And so just really looking to see what that vision looks like as it relates to all of our athletic programs, especially because university, I can think back to some years back when we, were really envisioning what would that look like as it relates to the programming with university and making sure that those scholars at university were not missing out, because that was a concern as it related to that experience at university, making sure there was an inclusiveness. And I think that we are, from what I can glean from what I've been just experiencing and seeing myself, I think we're moving forward in that direction. And I'm looking forward to hearing more from the athletic director.
You lifted some very good pieces to ensure that the administration is prepared for the policy review. Are you looking at all of the articulation agreements for dual enrollment, or just that specific to OCC? Because we do have one with Lawrence Tech as well, and looking into cybersecurity with Walsh. So are we looking for all?
Specifically to OCC, because I'm familiar with those, and actually as I was driving up, I couldn't help but stop and take pictures of all of the imaging and all the branding on the training center that's been located here on campus with the fire department. So I know that we are doing some programming to ensure some post-secondary programming, but and opportunities for our scholars and our young adults. Just want to make sure that we are leveraging all possible partnerships, and so really just leaning into that Oakland Community College and then the early graduation. So I did pull a few of those policies and I sent them to board president because in my quick review I saw a few policies that we could possibly look at just to make sure that we're being fully responsible in covering all of those. And then the curriculum newsletter was really a treat to see. So that looks really nice, and I'm really looking forward to seeing those and reviewing those articles as they come out. Are they going to come, those newsletter, monthly? What's the cadence on them, do we know? Quarterly. Quarterly, okay. Wonderful, wonderful. So I'm looking forward to
There are some
that.
additional communique that we've shared with the district that I will forward, including our MTSS guide and some of the other components that we've added to that, and possibly granting access to the trustees for view only so that they can see all of the creative materials that the team's been working on.
Oh, that would really be wonderful, especially as we roll out our study sessions. In relation to having the schools come. I know we talked before about creating some type of template so that all of the schools are reporting on some of the data specifically that we really, we love to hear about all the unique things that are happening at each building, but obviously there are some certain data points that we want to be able to look at across the district. So I think working in alignment with the curriculum instruction team, that may be something we can look into for this coming school year before we start putting the schools on the study session agendas. Yep. Trying to think here if I had anything. Just to share with the community that we are members of CUBE, Council for Urban School Boards of Education, and several of us will be leaving for Chicago later this week to attend that conference. I'm really looking forward to connecting and learning, and of course, reporting back to the community what I gained from that experience. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, trustee. Anyone else? Board matters? Trustee Belk?
I have a few things. First, I think we've done an amazing job with having the children now in and registered and all of those great things. Overall, I would like for us to, when you talk about study sessions and the policies, would like to know or evaluate some of those things prior to school starting. I felt, and the community have said this as well, it felt very reactive and not proactive the beginning of the school year. So I would like for us to reevaluate some of those policies so we can have a greater understanding, as well as letting the community know through the summer. We used to get the cards in the mail, bus routes. We had issues, but I just would like for us to be a little more proactive versus reactive. And hopefully we can talk about some of those things in the study sessions. And we all have many emails that we can reference to where people were not happy. So hopefully we can use that as our guide to make sure that our community understands that we hear them, we get it, we heard you, and we're going to make some changes. That's all.
Trustees, anyone else for board matters? So I will speak on my board matters. My first call of business would be to apologize to the community for any bumps in the road that we had at the start of the school year. We are responsible and we are accountable for what we do in this community, and we did not take any of that lightly. So to all of you who were inconvenienced, if your time was infringed upon, if there was confusion or frustration, we do apologize for it. I'd also like to send a very strong shout out to pupil accounting. I do not know if people recognize, but that building is full of 3 people who just started that position, and they showed up and showed out every time we called. They made sure that the problem was remedied, and I just really would like to thank Rebecca Luddington and that team. They did a great job. So thank you all. I just learned that some of you all are here this evening. So thank you. I truly appreciate you. You did a great job. Secondly, I just would like to thank all the building leaders that really went out their way to make this a really nice school year. You had red carpets, you had balloons, you had bands playing. Thank you to this board who came out and supported those initiatives. You know, many of us tried to make our way to as many things as possible as we were juggling our kids and our other lives. So thank you for being active and being proactive. Boots on the ground in the district. My last concern, and I believe Trustee Belk said it, and I would like to echo Trustee Smith-Thomas's sentiments. I think that we are headed in the right direction, but I think there are some process and systems that we need to put in place to make things go a lot smoother. We're aware of most of the concerns. We try to respond to every email, but keep sending them. I read them all. And we are working towards greatness. I think that's always the goal. And we're working towards a culture that is conducive of creating future leaders. And so I just want to thank everyone for your patience, your compassion, your empathy, being engaged and being involved, because that's really what it's going to take to get Southfield to a place that so many of us remember, and to actually push us past that. We shouldn't be trying to get back where we were in 1998. We should be trying to set the bar for 2058. So I appreciate everyone. I appreciate our Assistant Athletic Director. I heard great things this summer as well, and since she's here, I'll give you your flowers. So many kids have said how important it was that you had their back. So thank you for that, and we see you. I also would like to take this time to congratulate and introduce, before they represent themselves, our two new student board representatives. They are Mantrell Goodrum. He represents University High School Academy. And Braylon Boyd. He represents Southfield Arts and Technology High School. So for those of you who don't know, these young people will be the voice of their buildings. They will be leading some community service initiatives, which is a new piece to our student board reps. They will be bringing us back everything that the students would like to vocalize. So I just wanted to say welcome and congratulations. We are so pleased to have you here. Did anyone else have any board matters?
Yes. I'd just like to say I went to the ice cream open house for Thompson. It was exceptional. I met Ms. Hall, the principal, Ms. Ecker. Let me make sure I said Ms. Ecker. Hector, the assistant principal. I even met Granny, who's she works in the kitchen. I mean, it was just wonderful. They put on an excellent job. It was exceptional. The kids were coming in. Everything was done perfectly. And I talked to Samira Zayam. She has 34 years of service as a paraprofessional in Southfield District. And I met with, let me see who else did I met with. Oh, the teachers that were there doing the orientation. I just want to tell you, it was a great job. I even got a popsicle. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Appreciate it.
Trustees, any other board matters? Yes, ma'am.
I'm sorry. This was what I was forgetting, slipped. The assessment calendar, because I think I probably said it for probably about 5 years. Can we share the calendar? Can we share the calendar? So I was really pleased when I saw that. So just pushing out to the families, to the community, if you have not read the curriculum newsletter that was sent out, please go through it. It's very comprehensive. We are in the midst of assessments, so this is where the families, where the village, this is where we really need to come in strong for our scholars. Even though it's benchmark data, we want to make sure that we are yielding the best. So the assessment calendar is out there. I'm so happy to see it, all the dates. It even had them like all the way out, so that was really pleasing to see as well throughout the school year. So just wanted to make sure that wasn't missed.
I just wanted to add a couple of comments. As we started the school year, there was a welcome back to our teachers, and it was well attended. They were excited to see each other. To all of the teachers that are here and or listening, thank you for returning and thank you for coming back at 100%. I also wanted to lift our athletic team, our football team. We were down at Wayne State a couple of weeks ago. It was a great game. The attendance was great. The audience was great. It was well represented.
no antics, which makes it even better. They won, so it would have been a great start to a Monday. I believe AD was there as well, and some other folks. So we want to keep the momentum going in our schools, the momentum of caring for one another. It was a great event, and it's important that we keep that in mind as we move forward to the rest of this year. I know it's some challenges. We all mentioned what some those might be, but we're working. And again, Board President said, thanks for being patient. I also wanted to thank administration for the parking lot improvements that we've had on the Lathrop campus. I haven't lost a tire. I had to replace ball joints yesterday, but it's okay. But again, give us time to continue the work. And thank you so much for being supporters. You know, we never talk about what's going on in our personal families, in our lives. We keep that close to our vest and pray and hope that things get better. We need to do the same here in the district, and we need to make sure that we're working toward being our biggest cheerleader and retaining the people that we have and the students that we have to educate to greatness. Thank you.
Any more board matters? Anyone? Okay. So next up is report of the student board representatives. I did ask the board reps to give us their take on the strengths, the weaknesses, the opportunities for improvement, and any threats that they may have seen to the health and safety of their buildings. Since I know you all only had 2 weeks coming into this, I really wanted to hear your take, and I think the board would appreciate your take on what the first couple of weeks of school have been like. So we will start with Mantrell Goodrum from University High School Academy. Mantrell?
Good evening. For the months of September and August, here are the past as well as current events at University Middle and High School Academy occurring this month regarding the beginning of the school year. The U kicked off the school year by welcoming in the graduating class of 2024 with a senior clap-in accompanied by the school band. This gesture by staff shows a positive signs of the school year to come and brought a more upbeat attitude to the start of the new school year. University High School counselor Ms. Green is working extremely hard to help with scheduling issues and upcoming school events and activities. The scheduling issues have been present since the first day, but have been quickly subsiding, relieving a lot of stress from the student body. Teachers, parents, and students are also being very understanding regarding the scheduling issues and the inconsistent rosters. In comparison to last year, the security at the U has been more strict as a whole. The new security shows signs of a more safe learning environment for student body to be present and active in. Also, we are happy to welcome our new security guard, Officer Washington. This year at the U, AP African American Studies is being introduced and offered to students in only its second year of being a class. This introduction makes the U one of 800 plus pilot high schools to offer the course across the country. This class gives students the opportunity to learn more and deepen their knowledge on African American history. The AP classes present this year allow for extensive college preparation in all major subjects and selective areas for many students. Head coaches and the district athletic director from Southfield A&T visited the U on Friday, September 8th, to speak to all high school students about sports, giving them the opportunity to participate. The outreach from the coaches attracted many students to sign up for sports and speak to coaches with interests about sports. The U also welcomed Ms. Alice Collier-Vaughn to speak to a portion of students about dual enrollment at Lawrence Tech. This opportunity gave light to many students the chance to learn about classes that provide them with college-level courses and work. Many students will take this opportunity to get a head start on their futures. The beginning of the school year at the U is looking great. We look forward to carrying the great spirit throughout the rest of the year. Moving forward, the school-wide activities that are occurring at the U are positive and productive for student achievement and enjoyment. Thank you all for listening, and have a great rest of the week.
Good job. Trustees, do you have any questions for Mantrell?
I do have just a lift. So your new officer is actually, do you know that he's a graduate from Southfield Public Schools? Yeah, he is. So it's good to have him bring his talents back to our schools.
I have a question as it relates to, you mentioned the athletic team came over to talk with the students. In your time at the U, is this the first time, or the first of few times that that has happened?
I would say that this is the first time that a specific group of people came to talk to students as a whole. So yes, that was a big improvement.
Thank you
And it
for
helped
that.
the students.
Thank you. Thank you. Good to hear.
Dr. Green? Board President, just as a reminder, I did hear the lift regarding the dual enrollment piece, and I believe that applications are due tomorrow. That is the deadline, so I did want to remind our scholars who may be at home to get those papers completed, because dual enrollment paperwork is due tomorrow.
Yeah, okay. Mantrell, I'm sorry. You said there is or was inconsistent rosters? What do you mean by that?
So at the beginning of the school year, there were scheduling issues where people were constantly being switched in and out of classes, and the rosters were changing quite frequently because people chose to switch out of classes, in and out of classes.
Okay, was that rectified, or do you know? Or has it?
It's been very quickly,
They're working on it?
yeah.
Yeah, okay. Thank you.
My only ask is that you keep updating us on that AP African American Studies class, since we are one of the inaugural classes of it. I think that's awesome. Thank you. Trustees, any other questions for Mantrell? Hearing none. Our next report will be from Braylon Boyd of Southfield High School for the Arts and Technology.
Good evening, everybody. How are y'all doing?
Good, thank you.
Good. So for the months of August and September, Southfield A&T started off the school year strong. So here are some of the past and current events that have happened. On August 11th, Link Crew leaders started off the month with our freshman orientation. This allowed our new freshmen to get adjusted to high school, and this event was very successful. I love to see how many freshmen were impacted by this orientation and were allowed to learn the ropes of our school. Continuing on in the month, Student Council and Class Board had a joint meeting on August 23rd to discuss our homecoming. Our homecoming is unusually like recent this year. It's on September 30th rather than October. Yeah, it's really early. So this will come as a problem to some. However, we've been working really hard during the summer to ensure that our homecoming is a great success, and we can't wait to see everybody have a fantastic time. On August 28th, we had a fantastic first day of school. Some of our scholars attended school the day previous to set up the school. We had balloons, a red carpet, pictures. Seniors had a drive-in together so we could all start the school year together. So it's just fun to see how we could bring the school spirit back to A&T, to where everybody's back united and we can get that school spirit back. On Wednesday, September 6th, the class board hosted a senior sunrise, which I've heard hasn't been done at A&T in decades. We took many pictures. It's on our Instagram page. We love to see it. We got great attendance. I love to see how the class is coming back together and how we're bringing school spirit back to A&T, and everybody loved the event. On September 29th, we have our homecoming game coming up. We can't wait for this game, as we plan to announce our homecoming royalties for each game, and we are excited to play the Bloomfield Hills. I'm not sure what their team's called. We plan to have high attendance for this game, and I can't wait to see how A&T pulls the victory. Lastly, on September 30th, we have our homecoming dance. The theme for this year is A Night in Paris. We planned that during the summer, so we're excited for that. And we've incorporated Chef Simmons, which is our culinary instructor. She's catering this event, so this allows students that hasn't had the opportunity to purchase a ticket to work and cater the food for the event, and they'll be led in the dance. So that's something different we're doing for this year, and we're excited to see how we allow different programs for students who may not be fortunate enough to buy a ticket to be allowed to come to the dance. That's everything we have for the past 2 weeks at A&T, and I thank you all for listening.
Trustees, any questions for Braylon?
Yes, Braylon. You said a night there, you're gonna have a night in Paris?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, are they gonna have French cuisine?
We have hors d'oeuvres, I don't know how you pronounce it. Hors d'oeuvres.
Hors d'oeuvres?
Hors d'oeuvres.
Okay, all right, you did it just
We
fine.
got a nice Eiffel Tower coming. We got the hors d'oeuvres, and
Okay.
we're excited to see it.
All right, that should be quite interesting. Okay, what about this Instagram page? What is it, what is your,
So we encourage all of our parents and all of our students for the class of 2024 to follow the Instagram page. It allows for all updates to be posted there, as well as our new TV system that we have in our schools. So everything that we have, like any updates, so like the senior sunrise or like any senior events or just overall school events, we post that on the page so everybody, you know, a lot of the kids nowadays don't look at the TV, they're on their phone looking at
Right.
Instagram or something.
Yeah.
So, you know, we have to go where the community will be. So Instagram was a nice way to allow for all of our students to see everything that we have planned and everything we want to show.
so can we be privy to that Instagram
Of course.
page?
It's SAT Seniors 2024.
SAT Seniors?
2024, all one word.
Okay, great.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
My pleasure.
Through the chair.
Yes, ma'am.
I just want to compliment the both of you on your presentation. This is the first time in front of our community, televised video and everything else with the board. I really appreciate how you've come prepared, and thank you so much, and your positions were well-deserved.
Thank you.
Trustee?
Yes, just as Mr. Boyd mentioned, as it relates to the Instagram and social media, I think this would be a wonderful opportunity to maybe add a few of their highlights to our district social media. So maybe we record them or some type of way. Why are you doing that? Working on it. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, trustee. I promise every time we working on something, you come right in and say, hey. So it's good to know that we are aligned. I would really like to say thank you. You both interviewed extremely well. I like for this community to know that, as with our reps last year, you all are prepared. Your clothes are ironed. You are sitting up straight. I mean, we hear all of the bad things about our children. I want to point out some of the great ones. I think that your reports were well thought out. You gave us everything you asked for. I'm really pleased. I know if your parents are in the audience, I would ask for them to stand since this is your product. Good job. So we normally will let you all know, and I spoke to you before, we know you have homework, we know you have things to do. You are welcome to stay. If you have other obligations, you will always be able to be dismissed after your report. So please take the liberty, if you need to go home, do homework, whatever you need to do, you are dismissed. If you choose to stay, you are welcome to stay.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Have a good day, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Goodie bag. It says gift bag. And now we will move to the report of the superintendent. Dr. Green?
Thank you, Board President. As I shared with the gentleman, I think that they will go down in the history books because this is the first time we've had an all-male
They
student
are.
board reps representing our schools.
That is
So
true.
they have made history once again. There are a lot of bills in Lansing as we speak, but one that I would like to highlight this evening is relative to youth employment standards. One of the things that we see at our high schools, students coming into school in the morning and they're extremely tired because they've been working jobs whereby employers may or may not be adhering to the laws that are in place. This law that is being proposed is House Bill 4932, which aims to strengthen the penalties for employers that violate the law relative to our students. Anyone that has a minor working in unsafe conditions and/or between the hours of 12 a.m. and 5 a.m. are now, would be subject to additional jail time and triple the fines of what they are currently facing. So I am asking, as the lead educator for the district, that we all support this, because we do know that our students are only as good as the health and safety that are afforded them the day before they come into our classroom. So this is one that I'm asking that we all get behind. I will keep you all informed as this continues to move.
Board President, have we heard from Jennifer Smith from MASB as it relates to supporting the resident? Where do you do that?
Because I was just getting ready to say, Jennifer Smith, normally you just beat me. But finish your thought.
Regarding a resolution for us to support this bill with advocacy.
So I know that they normally will send us all out something. They have not sent anything via mail. I know that Jennifer Smith gives us updates from the Capitol. I have not seen it yet, but I am thinking that it's on its way. And just for clarity, because I want to make sure this part hits home, and some of you have been here when we have heard students tell us, I have 30 absences in 2 months because I got home from work at 2 in the morning. These employers are letting children work from the time they get out of school until 1 in the morning. So I just want everyone to know how important this bill is and how important it is that parents, teachers as well support it, because these kids aren't waking up from school in the morning. And a lot of them, their parents are going, especially in high school, before they get up. So they don't know their kids aren't going to school, but they're working to support their families. So I just wanted to stress the importance of that, because I think it's very egregious what some of these employers are doing. So thanks for that, Doc.
Thank you. I will be in Lansing tomorrow morning for the policy committee meeting, so I will ask that that be sent out, and if not, perhaps we can get a sample resolution drafted for you. Absolutely. There are some other bills that pertain to the elimination of the requirement for school districts to start after Labor Day. Once that bill was enacted, I know we start before Labor Day, so I see the look on your face, but that's because we actually apply for a waiver every year, and many school districts apply for a waiver. Some years ago, it was written into law to increase tourism, that all school districts start after Labor Day in hopes that families would still travel during the Labor Day weekend. Well, what we found is that families still did not travel during the Labor Day weekend because they were trying to get prepared to come to school on that Tuesday. So it backfired, and we are trying to get that taken out of law so that we don't have to go through the paperwork of applying for a waiver every single year to start school before Labor Day. So there's a lot happening. As stated, I will be in Lansing tomorrow, and I will have additional updates for you upon my return. Second, under the report of the superintendent, is the naming of the school-based health center. I am very pleased to share that our partnership has been solidified. We've signed a memorandum of understanding for the school-based health center at Stevenson Elementary School. We have representatives here this evening, and they are very much interested in naming that school-based health center after one of our alum. So I would invite them up to the counter to share that recommendation with us. And this is in accordance with our board policy relative to naming of our facilities.
Thank you, Dr. Green. My name is Brandy Lagazinski, and I work for Authority Health as the Chief of Staff. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
And I just wanted to share that Authority Health, like many organizations, goal is to improve community and population health. However, what separates Authority Health from many other health organizations is our deep commitment and our connection we have of actually being a part of the communities that we serve. And our health professionals, our care teams, colleagues, and partners not only work in the community, but they also are from those communities and continue to live and thrive in those communities. And this connection allows us to serve our patients and our purpose in a very thoughtful and holistic way. We have 4 health centers in Detroit and the Metro Detroit area. Each of these sites are housed right in the neighborhoods of the community members that we serve. And with each site, we have been very intentional about the legacy of care and commitment to the community that we wish to invoke, right down to the naming of each site. And when it came to naming our most recent school-based health center housed at Stevenson Elementary School, our goal was to learn as much as possible about the individuals and the needs and the strengths of the community. We also wanted to hear individual stories of the people within the community, particularly those who have made positive impacts in the community in the way of health and well-being. We wanted to know whose service truly resonated with the community. Who are those members of the community that inspire others and whose mission was in some way aligned with Authority Health's mission and vision in the community? We talked with a lot of people. We spoke with staff members and leadership at Stevenson, and on many occasions, Dr. Ira Land's name came up. We learned that Dr. Ira Land, a graduate of Sullivan University PharmD program in 2019, embodied the true spirit of dedication and leadership in the field of pharmacy. His journey from starting as a pharmacy technician to ultimately becoming a pharmacy manager with CVS showcased his remarkable rise within the company. His impact reached far beyond his role with CVS. He was not only an emergent leader, heading up and facilitating a diversity team, but he also played a pivotal role in organizing and overseeing COVID-19 clinics across regions in Kentucky, Ohio, and Indiana. In recognition of his exceptional commitment and service, Dr. Land was honored with the prestigious Paragon Award from CVS in 2022. His enthusiasm for the pharmacy profession, coupled with his infectious, joyful personality, left a lasting impression on everyone he encountered. Dr. Land often encouraged others to be the light when you walk into the room, and indeed he was the guiding light for many. We learned that beyond his professional achievements, Ira Land was deeply committed to giving back to his community and inspiring future generations. As an alumni of Southfield Public Schools, he joined scholars virtually for career days, inspiring youth to tap into their greatness. His interest in community pharmacy and dedication to embracing diversity through excellence in patient communication skills demonstrated his high standards of professionalism, leadership, and character. Sadly, it was also shared with us that Dr. Ira Land's life was tragically cut short on August 6, 2022, leaving a void in the pharmacy community and the hearts of those who knew him. Like many in the Southfield community, we were saddened and moved upon learning about his loss. We wanted to find a way to not only connect even more to the community, but to perhaps help bring some sense of healing in some way. We were truly inspired by Dr. Land's life's work, and we are excited about the proposal for the new health center located right in the community that he's from and that he cared so much about. And so we propose to name our new health center in his honor. And this will be a part of ensuring that his light continues to shine for generations to come. His legacy of passion, dedication, and the light he brought to others will continue to inspire us all, in part by the way of the Ira Land Family Health Center. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions? Trustees, do you have any questions?
Yes, yes. The last name, how do you spell that? Is it L-A-N-D?
Yes,
Okay.
Land, L-A-N-D.
That was it. Thank you.
So just so the trustees know, Ira Land, Dr. Land, was the son of Melanie Land, who is a beloved kindergarten, now first grade teacher
Soon
at
to be.
Stevenson's, soon to be something else, at Stevenson Elementary School. So thank you for that proposal. We appreciate it. We appreciate the partnership. You guys have truly been partners to our district and to this community. So thank you so much.
Board President,
Yes,
if it
ma'am.
is the pleasure of the board, given that communication is extremely important and we need to get literature printed, if, again, it's the pleasure of the board to move this to an action item to ensure that they're able to move forward with their publication.
Trustees, are there any more questions? Thank you.
Welcome, thank you.
You're welcome. You heard Dr. Green's request. Is there a motion on the floor?
So moved.
Support.
It's been properly moved and supported to open Report 6206 and approve it. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. Board Secretary, will you please call for the vote?
Trustee Belk?
Yes.
Trustee Bland?
Yes.
Trustee Holloway?
Yes.
Trustee Johnson?
Yes.
Trustee Joyce?
Yes.
Myself, yes. Trustee Ware Duval?
Yes.
Unanimous.
Motion carried. Thank you. And thank you to the Stevenson family. I know this is a big one for everyone, and it'll be very awesome to see Dr. Land remembered this way. So we are truly happy that we can move forward in this direction. This is going to be a great thing for that school and for our community. So thank you all. It's okay. I knew that was going to happen.
We have to take care of each other. Next, under the report of the superintendent, is that of our transportation update. We are joined this evening by Mr. Chris Schuman, who will explain to our Board of Education as well as our community some of the lessons learned that we've had with this anomaly to the start of our school year. Mr. Schuman?
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Sorry, can you hear me?
Yes.
So, first of all, I just want to take a second. I want to apologize to the superintendent, to this board, and to this community. Hearing everything that was going on this start of the school year, it just sounded like it was such a great school year until transportation happened and we hit those bumps in the road. Everybody did such an awesome job, and I just feel terrible that I'm here standing here telling you about this. Our main charge in pupil transportation is to ensure that each student has a safe bus stop, that we're picking them up and transporting them to and from their destinations on time, that we have a positive exchange with the parents for our young students and the special needs students, and that buses are arriving to schools and to the stops on time. And, we're not hitting on all cylinders in that regard. Now, there's multiple problems from where I've investigated into this of where this came in. And it's very layered. And at the end of the day, any one of these challenges, we could have overcome that one challenge individually. When they all stacked on top of each other, that's what led to the breakdown in communication. It led to the breakdown in the system. And we learned a lot of really valuable lessons of things that we're going to take forward in the future so that it never happens again. So how did we get here? We started out with completely new routes as we were going through, trying to find efficiencies to ensure that we had all the students on the buses and that they were appropriately seated on the bus, that they weren't overcrowded or undercrowded, trying to find those efficiencies. And whenever they do that, I always see that there's stops that are placed in the wrong location, stops are put in the wrong spot on the routes, children are routed to the wrong stop when that comes because there's just too much information that they're dealing with at a short period of time. I think that the communication breakdown with not sending letters out to parents was huge. You know, at the end of the day, I don't think this district, our location, I don't think the community maybe, they're probably with me on this one, but I am just not ready to replace that lack of a human touch of a postcard or a letter telling the parent, you know, walking them to the school district, walking them to the school year, and telling them where their child's bus stop is. It's very simple. Relying on the communication of electronic means is just, I'm just not there yet. And I think we proved this year, maybe many other people are not there yet either. You know, you couple that with the institutional knowledge drain that we had out of our office. There was several people that left either for health reasons or left on their own. So there's some programs and some situations that probably could have been caught had we had that institutional knowledge, either on the district side or our side. And so that's an area of a lesson learned, and there was a failure there that we have to fix. And Dr. Green and I have had extensive conversations on how we can do that. There was a huge problem with the data upload and download, the chain that uploads the student information from MyStar and then puts it to the routing team that they route, and then that beams it back down to the school district, and then the parents see this in their parent app and the secretaries see it on their computers. We found out several days into the school year that chain was broke and that parents were looking at old busing information. Again, that busing letter may have helped. The postcard that we sent out to them may have helped. Something could have stopped that. But we did discover the problem. I've been working with a team of people so that they can correct it, and they have done a ton of remediations, and it is working now. We have tested it, but that still didn't help for the start of the school year. So we've got the upload-download situation fixed. And then you couple that with the phone lines that we were having major issues with the phone lines in there. And Ron, our IT guy, he worked his tail off trying to get these things working. And there were several things that were discovered through this. And this led to tremendous frustrations. Because let me tell you, I tried to call the transportation department and I was upset trying to get a hold of my own people. Because when you call in, we only had 2 phone lines working. And even though we had 5 phones there, only 2 were working. And we tested them and everything was not working. And when you call in, if those 2 people are on the phone, it rings twice and it hangs up on you. Now that, as a parent, would absolutely frustrate the heck out of me. We found out that there's a setting in the Oakland Schools phone system that we're tied into that it would ring for 10 seconds. If no one picked it up in that 10 seconds, boom, just hangs up on the parent. So when I was working with Ron on this, we were talking about a stacking system and a queue to put parents in there so that it would tell them, you know, you're number 3 in the queue or number 5, you know, and how long you're in there. So something. Just don't hang up on people. Yeah. That absolutely will frustrate anybody. You know, so you couple all of those frustrations and all of those little breakdowns in there, and as I mentioned, any one of those things we could have handled behind the scenes if everything else was working good. But all of that came at one time, and it just crippled it. And so with that, this brought the need for what Dr. Green and I talked about of doing a Southfield Public Schools and a for student transportation playbook to develop a communication cadence between the district and the transportation department so we can do pulse checks and touch points to ensure that what happened this year will never happen again. And it'll be something that will not occur in the future. So these are going to take place with program directors. We're going to have it calendarized. These are pulse checks so that if we do lose somebody in a particular department in the school district, at least the transportation director's got this playbook that he knows he needs to call this person. And likewise on the end of the district, if we get a new transportation director, they don't receive it, they call them and they get it. So that's where that calendarization and those pulse checks are going to come in handy. So again, our main charge in pupil transportation is to transport students safely to and from their bus stop, get them to their parent, and have a positive exchange, and get them to and from school on time. We didn't do that this year. And for many years, we were very successful at it, and we had a real rough start this year. I wouldn't be here talking about the phone issues and data issues and all those little things. We'd be taking care of that offline, you know. But because there were multiple issues that led to the breakdown of the system that contributed to all the challenges that we had in here, I mean, I could go out and I could make sweeping changes to staff and move people around out of their positions, but that's not real leadership, right? That's not what we do. There's a lot of things that I can look at myself as a leader, and in my position, I shoulder the blame for this. At the end of the day, the reality is I look at myself to see where I could have done better and where I could have done more. You know, I look at myself and all I'm seeing is disappointment because at the end of the day, I let down this board, I let down this superintendent, and I let down this community. And there's a lot of kids that were standing at bus stops for buses that didn't come. And I let myself down, and I let everyone else down. So it takes a lot of courage to stand up here and say that. It does. But it takes a lot more courage to take the lessons that we learned this year, develop systems, develop practices, to pull us out of the ashes and develop a playbook with this superintendent here that's going to outlast us all so that this doesn't happen again to anybody else in Southfield Public Schools. I'm here for questions.
So let me commend you for taking accountability and coming before us. I know we wanted you back specifically because of this type of integrity. So I don't think you should be hard on yourself because you said a key word, lessons learned, right? And I've been asking for playbooks for a lot of different departments in this district. So I'm glad that you're taking the lead to create it. And I like that you're going to succession plan because it's needed district-wide. People are leaving and coming. I mean, you can't depend on historical knowledge anymore. You have to capture it in writing. For some people, you need it in video, to be honest. But I would like to say thank you. We do acknowledge that transportation was a fail, right, at the beginning of the school year. And it's something that we've actually been pretty good at historically. So thank you for coming in front of us, and you are right. It takes a lot of vulnerability, and it takes a lot of courage. And those are two things that do not come by often these days in leadership. So I truly appreciate you. It does not fall on deaf ears, and keep doing what you're doing. This is a board of empathy and grace because nobody is perfect.
I appreciate that.
No problem.
But at the end of the day, we still got to fix the problem.
We do.
And that's what we're working on, is we're working through the student data so that we can ensure that every child is getting picked up, that every child has a safe bus stop, and that everybody is getting to school and getting home from school on time.
Okay, I appreciate that.
I can work on the rest of this stuff behind the scenes.
For
As long
sure.
as we're doing that, nobody else is going to know the difference,
Agreed.
right? I can handle the little issues behind the scenes, so I thank you.
Thanks, Chris.
Any other questions?
I just have a couple of questions. Are there dry runs that you all do prior to the first 2 weeks, 2 weeks out, 3 weeks out? And I understand enrollment might not be solidified, but are there runs that you all do to make
Yes.
sure? Okay.
Yes, those are typically done, so we have our bid days, drivers pick their routes, and then we give them the route, and they go out either that day or the next day. And this is all done about a week before the school year begins, so they can dry run them. And then they'll bring that information back. If there's stops in the wrong spot, they can mark it up, and we can send it up to the system, or up to the router, so that they can get it into the system in the appropriate location. So they did that. It's just that electronic beam of information was broken, so the parents had bad information in their parent portal. And we discovered something, the secretaries do have the information, but it's in a different place now. And I just learned that today before I came over here.
Another question that I have is, at one time, we were looking at a portal for parents to be able to dial in.
Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah.
I forgot about that.
I was going to mention it.
I forgot about
There's an app
that.
for that.
Now, it's a great thing. So we do have a parent app that we are developing, and we have some work to do with the district. There's a dashboard we have to get implemented so that the parents can then go into their parent portal and track their bus. And it kind of works like the new Uber app does, how you can see where your bus is at, that your child is assigned to. You can set up geo fences around your area so that once it breaks that fence, it'll give you an alert that says your bus is 5 minutes out or 10 minutes, whatever you set it up to. So all of that will be really cool technology, but it wouldn't have helped in the startup.
I understand.
Because if you've got bad busing information in your parent portal, then you're
wouldn't
going to see
matter.
that bus on the other side of the street, other side of the district. But it's coming.
I have one other question. You had mentioned at one time that there were people moving and people leaving, and some people got sick at the last minute, whatever the case may look like. Do you use temp services at all? And I understand if a playbook was in play, then you'd be able to put a person there to do some of the work.
Yeah,
How
so
do
we
you handle,
we weren't short-staffed in the office. We had all of our staffing in there.
Okay.
The challenge that we had is the transportation director that we had left on his own accord. The router that we had that was on site there had health reasons, and she left at the end of the school year. Dispatcher that left on their own accord. So we had a grand total of about 2.5 to 3 years of institutional knowledge in that office.
Okay.
And we lost about 30 years of institutional knowledge that was there.
Sure.
But it was fully staffed, so it wasn't that it was understaffed. It was just everybody was new.
Got it. Okay. Thank you.
Just a quick comment. I was looking forward to this report for transportation. Thank you so much, Chris, for accountability and coming with the solution. We really appreciate it, and I think we all feel the same way. Thank you.
Thank you.
What I'd like to do is commend the superintendent and trustee Bland. Those emails were coming fast and furious. I don't know how they responded to each and every one, but they did. They immediately jumped on it, so I just wanted to commend you both for that.
Again, my apologies to everybody here, the board, the superintendent, and most importantly to the community and the kids out there. I'm really sorry for what happened, and we're going to fix it.
Thank you, Chris.
Next, under the report of the superintendent, we have our phenomenal athletic team here to share our vision for athletics, where we are, and more importantly, where we are going, because we are one. I love their new hashtag, we are truly one. Mr. Ahart and Coach Q.
Put this up really tall. Good evening, Superintendent, Board President, Board Trustees.
Good evening.
And everyone in the gallery, good evening. We're going to start off my slide presentation. You know, I am very tech savvy, but when I'm trying to get things out. So my middle school portion of it is right here. This is my middle school portion, and then after that, the elementary portion will come right back. Of course, I got this wonderful clicker. As our wonderful superintendent talked about, before we even go through the slides, South Athletics, we're trying to bridge the gap between all the schools, not just one high school, 2 high schools, but K through 12. So that's why Coach Q actually came up with it and passed it on, and I love it. We are one. So we are one district, as you hear, as I'm telling you my age, one band, one sound. So that's what we're aiming for. So let's go on and get through it. What do I hit? Forward, backwards. There we go. You can read through the philosophy of athletics that was created, but I want to really touch on just 4 things in the pillars, the 4 pillars. Academics, which I am a firm component, just a champion of academics, because, without your grades, you can't play. I'm going to channel my Dorothy Ahart, and, my mom was like, if you don't get that 3.0 or better, you just going to sit there and look in uniform. And, that's just something that I believe in, that academics, the dedication, family, but speaks for itself, because once again, we are one, but the integrity of athletics, which, integrity in itself, we have to be, very transparent. We have to have integrity in the things that we do, and that's what we're going to build and bring in the district since I sat in the chair in February. Just, like I said, I'm not going to be here long, but just small little snippets of what's going on, education, culture, and pride. It takes a village. Just out of 125 seniors that I inherited last year, that I should say, inherited in the department, we promoted 85% of our seniors to college. And when I say 85%, that doesn't mean the scholarship, because if you go down to 30% of our seniors receive athletic scholarships, which once again, you have to have some academics to get scholarships to play sports. Just big number, that 85% of our seniors are going to school. You know, I want to kind of bump that up. As we go through the slides, we're going to bump that up. You know, hopefully we'll get it up to another 10%, but, you know, we're going to lift as we climb. So, you know, just percentages just kind of go up year by year, semester by semester, I should say, and then year by year. But really big shout outs to baseball, girls basketball, once again, Coach Q to my right, and our softball. It's promoting 90% of their, 98% of their seniors to school. You know, that's big. That is once again, I think Ms. Marie stated it. Coach Q had had valedictorians on our team that went going to Michigan, 2 scholarship athletes. So that's what, you know, our department is striving to be, academic, athletic department. Now, when we talk about partnerships, create strong partnerships for our scholar athletes. That goes to the next slide. That name, C2 Pipeline, I wanted to stick in everybody's head. We've partnered, the district itself has partnered with Wayne State, but athletics, because I know the person very well, we sat down and talked, how can we create that academic success throughout every year, semester by semester, year by year. Our students will be going to C2 Pipeline, which are, and I don't want to say, our students that are having some challenges and our students that are still striving to be great will be invited to C2 Pipeline. Our coordinator at the building right now is Michael Shelton. So what's happening is, you know, our athletic department wants coaches to make sure that kids get to study hall, not just running around the hallways. So study hall is through C2 Pipeline. So our volleyball teams that are in season right now, football, it just started Monday. So we're going to be going through and making sure that these young men and young women have the application to go to C2 Pipeline, work on homework help, any challenges they have in academics. We iron it out, and you get back on the playing field or in practice.
Coach Ahart, is that a new site coordinator for this year?
Yes, because Tracy was there. She's over, but now the site coordinator herself is Michael.
Okay.
Yeah, so he's new.
Thank you.
And she's, I talked to her today, she's bringing on 2 more because now since athletics is partnering, you're going to have more kids there.
And as we talk about historic knowledge and people transitioning, that's what lifted in my head as we talk about this. So I'm glad to hear that she's still involved.
Yep, she is.
Great.
So raising the bar. This the bar graph here is just showing you our team GPAs. You know, our GPA, which I'll be asking the board and writing it up. I want the whole academic GPA to be 2.0, and then as we get to that 2.0, where hopefully we can bring some more ticks to it. But if you notice, our football team, volleyball, everybody is around that 2.0 or better as a team. So, which is a great highlight that I was tracking since last year. But our non-revenue sports, and I say non-revenue, you know, football and basketball is always the big ticket items. But our non-revenue sports, softball, baseball, I know I didn't put the golf on there, boys and girls golf, swim. Those young men and young women are exceptional students, but they're exceptional athletes and exceptional people. So we're raising the bar. All right. Better communication. These are the things when we talk about barriers and solutions. Better communication. I think that we need to talk more and to be politically correct, not point as many fingers. Let's talk. The more communication, the better we're going to be in the athletic department, and I'm going to strive and we're going to strive to make sure that happens. So that solution is something that we're creating called Athletically Yours. Athletically Yours is a monthly newsletter that'll be coming out starting around about Thanksgiving, the Christmas holiday. So I can see how it looks, how we're going to roll it out. But it's going to put out to the community and throughout the district. So the schools and the communities will understand and know what's going on athletically. Right now, you have tons of newsletters that go out in the school system. It goes from A&T, the university, and they're all asking for snippets of what's going on athletically. But if it comes directly from the office, then there will be better communication. You'll know when practices are. You'll know what's coming up when middle school sports is starting. You'll know when elementary school sports, when we have them, are happening. So that newsletter is a solution. Also, kind of a barrier for athletics, just increasing outside funding. You know, we get what we get in the department, but we need to increase the funding through community partnerships. For example, going out, possibly getting signage. You know, I know the district policies, and those are things that we're going to be writing up to see if we can present it to you to change, the superintendent, then to the board to change. But we need to have our partners signage up on our fields. The donation base, you know, if we're in the community. The community should pride themselves on donating, you know, whatever they can donate, and then we put a sign on the baseball field. We put a sign on the football field. Those are the things that we possibly can do, but there's things that you have to do before that happens, and you know that's the process. There are processes that you have to take place, but those are the things that I'm hopefully the solution to getting more funding in athletics. All right, what's new? Live in Memorex for middle school, Coach Q and the wonderful Coach Q. So she's going to talk about middle school athletics, then I'll talk about elementary school athletics, and then I'll have questions.
Mine's right behind yours, Coach.
Didn't I just say you live in Memorex?
Okay, you want me?
Did I just say that?
He get the
She had a big, yes, she's live.
I'm fine. I could talk off the cuff. I don't need it. So, good evening, everybody. My name is Shaquita Coltrane, and almost nobody knows that I am Coach Q, and I'm fine with just being Coach Q. I am the assistant athletic director. I am the middle school athletic director, and I'm also the girls' head varsity basketball coach. I love every one of those roles that I play, and usually you can find me on skates. So just a couple updates, really briefly. I won't be long. Last year was my first year tackling middle school, and I know Dr. Green was like, "My babies, you gotta take care of my babies," and so that's what I did. We were able to bring back several sports that weren't there. I'm not gonna act like it was easy because it's a lot of obstacles behind the scene that kind of put the roadblocks there. The money that the coaches get paid, I'm just gonna be honest, y'all, it's not a lot, and a lot of people don't want to do something for nothing. It's hard to find people who still genuinely have a heart for our youth, and they're talented. So some people is just like, pay me what I'm worth, but I'm like, I can get you some gear. I can. Look, and I'll bring you some hot chocolate or something. But we did come up with a lot of great coaches, a lot who came from within the school district, teachers who stepped up and just said, you know, I know what I know. I don't know a lot, but I'll definitely give my time. And that's what it takes, y'all. I'm going to be honest. It takes people. That is the biggest piece to continue to build the culture that we want to put back in Southfield, as Board President Bland said, to be prepared for 2058, not just for, 2024. It takes people, it takes the community. So this year I'm excited to take the lessons learned, the things that went well, the things that didn't go as well, to advance on the successes and to definitely work on the areas of improvement. We brought back 3 sports last year. It was phenomenal, y'all. I love competition anyway, and that's just me. But I love to see our middle schoolers, our young people want to play. And this is big for them because we lose our children to the other districts because we don't offer the sports that they want to play. And so when they go out and they play club ball or travel ball, and then they come to their school and it's not offered here, parents and even the students want to go where they can play. So it was great to be able to bring those sports back, and again, to try to give our high school a feeder system so that, myself included, when I get these freshmen who be like, I just think I want to play basketball, like you never played, like never, not once. It's tough, it's hard, so it's giving our coaches a chance, but what else it does is give us a chance to bridge the gap. So it allows our high school students to come down to the middle school level, mentor, coach, be seen, be a presence, and also, again, help to continue to want our middle schoolers to want to stay in the district and see why they want to live the Warrior way. So I'm excited about what we could continue to build and go where in that direction coming up this year. Another thing that I just really wanted to mention was this year we're doing a lot of, I started in the summer, just talking to kids, y'all, because again, as our student board members were talking, you have to go where the community is. So you can't just think that, oh, I'm a mom or I'm a parent, I'm an adult, I know you're going to do this and that's that. Like, you have to talk to these kids, and then you have to make them feel empowered. So I started this summer talking to the kids in our community, and that's another reason where elementary came from. We have a lot of little people who want to do big things, and we have to let little people do big things. I have a little person who does big things, so with that, I have leadership in that role. So now going back into the middle schools, it's not just what I think the basketball team should look like or the volleyball team should look like or cheer and things of that such should look like. It's also them coming in with their ideas, and we're going to build off of that and try to make for a better season. The last piece I want to mention is to also kind of go with the empowerment piece. As Ashanti said, and a lot of other people were saying, our negativity stuff, if a fight break out at one of our games, y'all, it's on there before you even can break the fight up. It's out there, you know what I'm saying? But our good news doesn't get out as fast. And this summer, we had the HBCU baseball team come out. We had over 25 HBCU coaches, kids getting scholarships on site. We hosted it on our field. It was a 4-day event. It was amazing. It was phenomenal. But to build from that, we now have opportunities where we can expose our students. So we want to make sure this information is getting out. We've been blessed with the boards on the inside of our school at the high school at Southfield A&T, and we're utilizing that now. So I don't know if anybody knows, but Bally's just did a whole video article on our quarterback, Isaiah Marshall, and it is phenomenal. So if y'all haven't seen it, I know Alexandra Cash put it out there. It's amazing. So we want to try to take snippets out and be able to have that playing in the school, because not only does it give our athletes their credit because they work hard, but we're asking them to be ambassadors. We're asking them to be game changers. And so while people are looking up to that, now they're looking at him, and now he can truly lead by example. So we want to use these boards to highlight our student athletes, their accomplishments, and their successes, so that we can have other people want to mimic that, so we can continue to change the culture and get it back to what we're trying to do. Also, the marquee outside, I ride past Groves to get to here all the time, and it's blaring like congratulations to and we gonna congratulate too, y'all. We gonna put it out there. We want our students. I don't care if it's our band won this or cheer did that, or we just wrote the best essay. Like, we want to be able to, when you at that light, you getting your gas, you can see that Southfield is doing some big things over here. And lastly, just to continue to the athletically yours. That's another thing that we just really want to be able to get these things out here. We want to get not even just our high school, but our middle school, our young people. That matters to them, y'all. That was something that they like to see. My son is 6, and he look at stuff. He like, Ma, you only got 70 likes? Are you sad? I'm like, son, no, I don't do it for the likes, but they do. So when they get to see their name, when they get to see it somewhere, it makes them feel good, and then it makes the friend next to them want to see their name, and now we get to build programs back up, and we get that upward trickle effect that we need to continue to change the culture to where we're trying to get it to be. So that's what I'm doing at the middle school level. On the high school level, I'm backing Coach Ahart and everything that he's doing, and I'm actually right by his side and definitely continuing to make some of the changes. It was great to be able to be into university, and we'll be back at the middle schools as well. Again, just trying to be a presence and letting everybody know we are one. Yeah, thank you.
So that's why you get Coach Q live. So you know, and I get that every day, and it's a blessing. Other things that I didn't mention when it called highlighting, you know, our girls bowling team over the 12 months, ranked number 8 in the state. We're going to be getting more young ladies and young men into bowling in that sign up. I'm going to say signing day because I'm putting it out there in the world. In that signing day at university, we received about 12 to 13 young folks that wanted to bowl. So, you know, I'm a bowler, so that made me just ecstatic. Along with other sports they signed up for. Our football team is ranked number 2 in the state. So, you know, we got to just keep pushing on.
Say that again.
I said our football team is ranked number 2 in the state. So we got to keep pushing on. Before we go to elementary, in-services for our coaches has been added. Fellowship for Christian Athletes will be coming in season by season because coaches don't know until you teach them because they think they know everything. So you sit them down and you give them a platform, you know, to teach them. So there'll be a series of PDs for our coaches so they can learn the new way of doing things, because sometimes the old way is not the best way, but then if you mix both of them together, you get, you know, a great pot of gumbo that I'll cook one day. But just to, like I said, just to finish out, Little Warriors. So, you know, we sat down in the summer. We talked about the Little Warriors. So to piggyback on Coach Q, we sat down in the summertime, Coach Q and then I sat down with all our coaches to find out how we can work with retention, because that's a big word in every school district and every leadership room, retention of our students. And we want to try to get to retention through athletics. And it starts, you know, middle school is middle school. You know, 6th through 8th grade, you're pulling teeth, you know, you're trying to get kids. But my vision, and our vision, I should say, is to try to get our young people. K and 1 is tough, but 2 through 5 is where it's at. 2 through 5. My grandson is a second grader now, and you know he plays everything, and he's just excited about it. So our Little Warriors League. So this is what's happening with Little Warriors upcoming. 2nd through 4th, but 5th grade is going to be added. We have Mighty Camps, and what a Mighty Camp is looking like, which is going to be rolled out. We're going to have our coaches from the high school come in and do small, maybe hour and a half camps, not week-long camps, maybe 2 days out of the week for 3 weeks, and then come back and revisit it in a couple weeks after that. Come in and do skill development. I know baseball-wise, we're partnering with Wayne State. My son is going to come in and work with the young men in baseball, because he's an 8 and under coach. So he's going to come in and work with you know, pro guy coming in, working with little kids, trying to get them right. Our softball coach will be starting that also, coming in, working with the young ladies in softball. Our new soccer coach. I got to give him a shout out to Coach Joseph. He came in and hit the ground running, and he's just added value in about 2 months or less. Our soccer team increased from the baseball team playing soccer, doing me a good solid, to play soccer, now going to about 25 young men playing soccer for the high school. And I think the list grew for the young ladies. We had 17. I think the list will be now about 25 or 26. So that's a big thing. But he wants to join in the Mighty Camps, getting young folks to learn how to play soccer, which is great. But what's big, our Warrior League. The Warrior League, it's a league for our 2nd through 4th graders where they can play basketball. But the caveat of the league is going to be run by our high school students. All right, so our high school teams, so they can get their community service. They can see how it feels to be a coach and deal with everybody, and just get that opportunity for our kids to play. And then Coach Q brought flag football is on the rise. I'm not giving you a date when that's coming up, but flag football is on the rise. So that's just a snapshot of the things that's going on athletically through the district. Like I said, this is not because Coach Q's information is on the other slide, but I just hit send. I will get the slide out to you and have Coach Q's information. I know everybody says AD Ahart, please. Omar Ahart, but Coach O. I know superintendent, it's like AD Ahart. That works too, but if you see me in passing and you say Coach O, I'll probably whip my head around quicker for 26 years coaching. So I'm the coach of the coaches, so that's why, I'd say Coach O, but I am athletic director Ahart, so if there's any questions.
It's just out of respect, sir.
Thank you, ma'am. And yes, I thank you.
Any questions?
Through the chair, I just have a comment. Sure. I would like to say to Coach O.
Thank you.
And Coach Q, thank you so much for your visions, which have become a reality in a lot of the sports that our kids need, and also the retention piece that you've thrown in, the mentoring piece. Thank you so much, because we always hear for the community what we don't offer, and this is another way that we show them what we do offer. Thank you.
Trustee Joyce.
Yes, sir.
I just think that the camps, I think that's awesome. And the reason why I say that is because I remember when one of my sons decided in the 9th grade he wanted to play baseball. And through elementary to middle school, I threw the ball with him, because I was in Little League baseball. And I gave up, because there was times when I threw the baseball that I thought I was going to break out a window, because he couldn't catch. He could, and as a parent, I couldn't get him to follow, because I don't have the skills and all that. So, but I know that if he would have had a camp back in those days, that would have been fitting for him. And when he reached the 9th grade, he would have been ready. So I know camps are very, very important, like Little Leagues are very important. I played Little League softball and hardball, so I know that's important. And so I thank God that you guys are putting that kind of program together for our students, the male and the females.
Yes, most definitely.
Thank you so much. I was so excited for this presentation. As I mentioned earlier, I had the opportunity to attend many of the games late summer or early in the school year, and actually had a chance to talk with Coach O and really hear a little bit of his vision. So I was really excited for this presentation. Pleasure to hear from you, Coach Q, and to, not be introduced yet, but I imagine we will. But love your energy, love your presentation, love your vision. You mentioned live the warrior way. Can we get T-shirts that say that? Coach O. Coach O, thank you. But one thing too that I want to just lift here is I actually had the pleasure to kind of observe Coach O before I went and introduced myself to him. I kind of just, watched him from the background. And what I saw how he navigated the crowds and how he went and talked to the different alumni groups and went and introduced himself. And you could just hear him just talk, just the presentation he gave here. So I know that the passion is there. And I know that I believe that he's going to do what it is that he's already set in motion. Certainly commend him for working with our alumni groups who early on, when the first games, set up at one of the games, and, many of the alumni have moved away, and they really only come back for like their reunion, and you're still here, yes.
Trustee Johnson.
But I watched how, and I've
heard from some of them of how they felt welcome to come set up a tent, enjoy the athletics and even some future opportunities to partner. And so I'm just really pleased to hear that, and I'm pretty sure you will continue with those efforts, especially as you mentioned about the community partnerships. So I just really look forward to seeing what comes about with our middle school and even our elementary level. I think that's really going to be wonderful and exciting. The Little Warriors. Making your tours around the district, because again, this was a vision that, we've talked about many years of how specifically university scholars didn't feel that they were included in the sports. They felt like they were just coming over there and, and even this feeling and thought of wanting to have separate athletics, and I no longer hear that, and so and I don't feel that energy either. So I commend you, and again, I'm really excited about that. I have a question about the basketball league at the Little Warriors. Will that be co-ed, or will you have two separate, just one group, everybody's together? Okay, all right, very good. And I just encourage you, you'll see me around. You'll see me at the games. I enjoy going to them often when I can. And I encourage you all to just continue to keep us in the loop at the board level so that we know about all the wonderful things you all are doing and how we can support, especially as you mentioned about the partnerships and the community partnerships. And Dr. Green, if we can, I think this would be a perfect opportunity if we can put on an upcoming agenda, the Southfield Foundation. So
Absolutely.
we know what we are going to do in that space and how we can leverage some of these visions that have come to.
Absolutely, and forgive me for texting. I was actually asking, did every board member get their athletic pass
I
to
have
ensure
mine.
that we are able to attend? Okay, all right, Mr. Jackson.
I
Perfect
have
time to
mine.
make sure they have them. So that's why I was texting, like, does everyone have their passes?
I was
Okay.
just about to say it. I was just about to
That's
say
why I was
it.
texting.
You
I
did.
have, I know, and I
Yes, you
recall
did.
Mr.
You did.
ADA Hart / Coach O bringing them over.
Trustee Holloway.
Thank you.
Coach Q and Coach O, right? Okay, I'm sure you both know the sport to build confidence. It builds character, it helps them be more responsible, and it's going to help with their classroom studies and how they act in class. And you young ladies should wear two hats. One is a cheerleader, and you have the other, which is a coach. Your energy is just contagious.
So to both of you, as we just confirmed, you got the passes over. You both called me, made sure we were good for that first game. Thank you so much for your diligence. I love the piece about community service. I say it all the time. I think that this generation doesn't know enough about giving back. And I think it's very important. I was just talking to Dr. Green about that community service piece. So to hear that our young men will be going to teach our young people is a good thing. So I appreciate that. Coach Q, you called me on a very late evening and said, I have this vision and I'm watching you implement it, and I thank you for that. Coach A. Hart, you told me, hey, I took an audit of every piece of equipment in this building, and I respect it as an auditor. I respect it as a board member because it shows that you're trying to make us whole from every angle. And we see your vision. I think it's great. I look forward to supporting you all. So thank you for coming in and sharing this with us. And as long as you got people like Marie Banks heading up your boosters, y'all gonna be just fine. So, so thank you for that report. And I think we look forward to this season and the next and the next. Thank you. No problem.
Sure. I have a question. I did hear the team mention a request, it sounded, as it relates to raising the bar and setting the GPA at a 2.0. Is that a policy matter? Is that administrative guidelines? Is that something we need to bring as an action item? Can you clarify that?
Yes, it is under our board policies. We currently adhere to the Michigan High School Athletic Association minimum, which unfortunately, in our opinion, and I completely agree, is too low. It's a 1.8 GPA, and that is failure as far as we're concerned. So we would like to, and we've been meeting to discuss how we increase the expectations of our scholar athletes, scholarship being the primary focus. So we will have that to come before the board as a recommendation.
All right, thank you.
With it ultimately moving up to 2.5. We want to keep building it, yeah, 2.5.
Yeah, I was gonna say 2.5, but.
Yeah, so we're going to go 2.0, 2.5, and then our ultimate goal will be have them all 3.0.
Trustee Thomas, just to that point, again, a lot of times we are asking or telling our student athletes, and our students in general, to do things without giving them the how or what around the why, so more for the how. So again, the C2 pipeline is what we're trying to do, while still building that team where Coach O might be great in math and I'm not, but we work together, he's bringing me up as well as one team. So we're not also have a C2 pipeline, and with the additional help that Tracy is sending us, we want to get that 2.0 as a piece of cake, but 2.5 should be established.
Absolutely. And Coach O is a certified math teacher, just in case anyone needs tutorial services. Thank you.
Thank you both.
Thank you both. And next, under the report of the superintendent, and being mindful of time, is the bond update. I did have an opportunity to forward that to you all, and I'm sorry, Board President, you had something else?
Well, we want to make sure that everyone understands that because it's so early in the year, the BUSSY director's report will be next month. She
Yes.
doesn't have the data.
Because the students just came back, but there are still several pieces under information that are pertinent to BUSSY, but the full monthly report that the trustees receive, you will not have in this package, you will have it in the next packet.
I just didn't want to skip over it and then somebody says, hey, wait a minute. Okay.
So I'm still on E, on 5E.
Yes, ma'am. Bond update?
The bond update.
So what you're saying is that the bus report, because that's very important, that gets out to the community.
Absolutely. So we will have that information for you at the end of the 30-day period, because we give a comprehensive 30-day report each month. So once we have the 30 days worth of data, we will be bringing that forward to you and to the community. Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay there? Okay. So moving back up to the bond update with Plant Moran, Cressa, and Barton Mallow, we do have members representing both teams here this evening. I was able to email you the 41-page report, inclusive of photos of all of, and it is in your packet this evening as well, inclusive of all of the work that we've done over the last few months, particularly with the emergency funds that you afforded us to upgrade the Eisenhower facility, and then some additional emergency funds that we utilized. As you heard Vice President mention, the pavement work at MacArthur and the U, the catch basin work that we did there, the successful opening of Eisenhower, of which we've heard amazing reports from the staff and the parents. We do have a video coming out. They did some interviews with the staff and the students during the open house, so we'll have that video coming out to showcase Eisenhower not only to our trustees, but to that of our community as a whole, so that they can see the work that we're doing. We also just selected the playscape equipment that will go on the campus of Eisenhower, as well as the campus of Kennedy Learning Center. And at the end of this month, we have the work beginning on the parking lot at Kennedy Learning Center. Dan, did I forget anything? Because we have been busy, busy, busy. We start the work at Adler the end of this month as well, and BUSSY for the chiller. The chiller replacement, not the temporary unit. And we have the full Adler envelope services, so we will be doing the doors, the windows, the security upgrades, the secure entrance. We're relocating the main office. We are also moving forward with the floor work, the restroom work, as well as the lighting work, the ceiling tile replacements, and moving from the traditional lighting to that of LED. Now I think I got it all. Okay. I've been immersed in this construction world for just a moment. So the team is here for any questions that trustees may have.
Yeah, just one question, and this is to Dr. Green. Are we going to be doing some upgrading for Kennedy's parking lot?
Yes, that work is scheduled to begin at the end of this month. It's
Okay.
going to be a complete overhaul of that parking lot,
Okay.
both the side parking as well as SEC. So timing is very important because those two programs are open year-round, so we've been trying to navigate that component. But yes, there's going to be a lot relative to the drainage, and they're taking that parking lot all the way down to, what do you call that very lowest layer? I'm not a civil engineer, so help me with that regard. The sub-base? Okay, so we're taking that one, stripping that one all the way down and building it back up. We're also doing some work on the playground. We'll have a track for our exceptional scholars there. We're going to have some play equipment that is tailored to meet their needs as well. So we're really being intentional with the dollars that we've been afforded to make sure that it meets the needs of the scholars in that building. So what we're looking to do is, going back to the parking question, is taking one of the parking lots offline first, so that we'll still have the parking out front for pupil accounting, and then doing the inverse, so that we'll have the parking lot up front when we take the opposite offline. And we'll have handicap accessible spaces.
So
there
I
as well.
have one question, because I heard you say at the end of the month. If it can't happen at the end of the month, can we please communicate it
Absolutely,
to everyone?
absolutely. But that award has already been issued. We issued that award to.
Totally understand. The award's been issued.
The only thing that may stop us is that
Supply
of the-
chain.
And the weather.
Okay.
Because weather is a big issue when it comes to that.
Understood.
Come up to the microphone, Mr. Dan Anderson. Mr. Dan Anderson, everyone, our project manager.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
It's actually in process right now. We're
Okay.
working with the construction team as well as the Kennedy Group.
Okay.
Along with Plant Moran and Southfield Public Schools, so we can make sure that we have everything laid out for a schedule and a
Okay.
structure for that.
Okay.
The work will possibly be done in phases.
Okay.
So we can take care of everything, so it will be completed at about the spring of next year, maybe summer.
Okay.
And that includes the playground equipment as well.
So the
Got it.
playground
And it's all
piece is
being
gonna be
done
the
in
delayed
phases.
piece.
So I didn't want us to get caught up in semantics, because we'll say the work has started, right? And that's at the table, right? And it's not physical work. And we've heard our community, right? Because they
Follow us on
replay our YouTube. And they say, well, you said the work was gonna start, right? And for you, the work starts as soon as you start typing and calling folks and ordering things. But to them, they don't see
They
a
wanna see the-
bulldozer, and that means the work hasn't started. So I just want to be clear and transparent, because I don't want to get caught, in that again. And I also wanted to say thank you to you and TJ, because you were there at Adler. You were walking those buildings, Trustee Joyce, Talisha Belk, you were there, right? You went to both nights. And I know for the parent-student night, you were sitting there watching everything. I said, he just quietly
We had assignments.
anticipating.
Bring the Eisenhower, right?
Yeah,
I-
Adler and
yes,
Eisenhower.
I'm sorry, I'm calling Adler, Eisenhower, and Miss Almadine, don't beat me up if you're watching. But yes, so thank you for that, because I think it was important that they saw that we were still working as we were touring, and from what I understand, you all were still working during that tour. So thank you for that. It was a job well done. That building looks awesome.
Well, appreciate it. What I will say, going back to Kennedy, Dr. Green knows that we talk every day in regards to the schedules and the processes. I believe TJ and I worked until 4 or 5 o'clock yesterday just discussing Kennedy by itself. So what the plan and the process is for all the construction projects is we work with the faculty and staff as well as the construction team to try to get a schedule together.
Okay.
And then we will present it to Dr. Green and her team and come up with the best practices on how to roll this out for a schedule to make sure it accommodates everyone. So you'll know about that, and it'll be continuously updated as we meet every week in regards to the projects.
Any other questions regarding this report? Dr. Green, I have one question.
Yes, ma'am.
The sidewalks on University
Yes.
are an accident waiting to happen. And they look like that for a while, so I was just wondering if that's anywhere in the plan.
So that was lifted during our Monday construction meeting. plural, yesterday, and we are looking at some alternative solutions to repair that, to put out the work for bid and have that come back in is going to push us into the winter months, simply based on the legal requirements for that. So we're looking at some alternatives to repair those areas, and the team, I believe, is going out on Thursday of this week. All my days are running together, but I believe the team is going out on Thursday this week to look at that area. I think it's Thursday of this week. The other thing that I wanted to lift with the work, a lot of the equipment has already been delivered to that of Kennedy. Well, not a lot. A lot of the work for the pavement has been delivered, not that for the playground and all of that. So there is some equipment already on site at Kennedy, and we are waiting on some approvals from our friends at the city. So I know that we all have friends at the city. If we can ask them to look at our paperwork and move the
It's my
project
understanding that that
forward.
has moved forward.
Oh,
so
very good,
that'll
after
be
our
part of
call yesterday.
Communication tomorrow.
So thank you so much for making that call, Mr. Jackson, to get that paperwork moving forward with the city. Awesome. So there are a lot of things that do slow us down in the process, because we do have to go through a certain amount of approvals, and we want everything done decent and in order, and we want it done properly the first time so that we're not having to come back and take out a parking lot for something we didn't do right and have to redo it. So we do have to go slow to go fast sometimes, but the team is absolutely amazing, and we spend a significant amount of time together. So grateful for all that you all do. Thank you.
Thank you.
Board President, having mentioned that the BUSI's Director's Report is going to be tabled until next month, that concludes the report of the superintendent.
Action items, consent agenda, approval of minutes for August 9th, special meeting, and August 29th.
Support.
It's been properly moved and supported. Board Secretary, I see you getting prepared. Did you have
Yeah, I
something
was-
for us?
Yeah, I was looking at them, and I apologize, this just jumped out at me because it's at the top of page 2
Okay.
for the special board meeting. The minutes where it reference supports the parents, this should actually state supports the superintendent.
Understood.
That's on page 2.
It's on page, it's right at the top, and it just jumped out at me because those were my words, one, and because I recall what it was referencing,
Understood.
and it's right at the top. Yeah. So it's, that sentence states,
Supports the
she
parents' right
supports
of-
the parents'
yeah, right of
rights of
assignment.
assignment. The parents have a lot of rights, however, the parents don't have a right of assignment
Superintendent.
as it relates to the staff. That is the superintendent's right of assignment for staff.
Thank you.
Okay.
That's what we were discussing at that time.
Is there
That's
an
the only
amendment
thing
to
I
the
can see, and I'm
motion?
sorry.
I was just about to say.
there are other-
Very good catch.
We need an amendment to the motion to open and approve, because we need to have an amendment made to August 9th, correct? Yeah, August 9th meeting. Trustee Joyce and Johnson? They did. You did already?
No, we didn't do it yet. Doesn't he have to do it?
Yeah.
Okay. You have to amend your motion.
Okay, so I amended.
Oh, okay.
To reflect.
To reflect the change.
To reflect the change.
Thank you.
So moved.
It's been properly moved and supported. Any other discussion? Hearing none. Board Secretary, would you please call for the vote?
Trustee Ware Duval? Yes. Myself, yes. Trustee Joyce?
Yes.
Trustee Johnson?
Yes.
Trustee Holloway?
Yes.
Trustee Bland?
Yes.
Trustee Belt?
Yes.
Unanimous.
Motion carried. Thank you. Now we have Report 6207, Personnel Action Report. Before we move into that, there is a new member of our team that I don't believe that the board has been properly introduced yet. So Dr. Green, I will allow you to introduce.
Absolutely.
our
I
new-
am extremely excited to introduce our new COO after wearing both hats for several months. I am pleased that we have Mr. Joe Corris on board. Mr. Corris comes to us after many, many decades of experience. He is in the Wayne State Hall of Fame for the Department of Engineering.
Wow.
And also had an opportunity to work on several schools, both public and parochial, throughout the state of Michigan. Is a CEO of his own company in his pastime, of which he has none anymore since he's here with Southfield. And is truly an asset to the district. Jumped right in, and when we were discussing the challenges that we had at the beginning of the school year, he stated that I should fire the COO because of the transportation challenges, even though it's his second day on the job. And he said that he was the tall, dark, and handsome newest member of our team. So, Mr. Joe Corris, if you would, please step forward and be properly introduced to our Board of Education.
I was 6'5" when I started 3 weeks ago. Where are we now?
Well, thank you for joining our team, Mr. Corris. We're excited to have you. We know you're doing an awesome job. You are greatly needed. So we hope that you are getting both of your feet wet right now.
I'm honored to be on board.
Awesome. Thank you.
As we move into the Personnel Action Report, Board President, I do wish to lift a couple things prior to the board considering these action items. And I also wish to make a remark, if it's okay, to the community relative to all of the emails that we received regarding changes. One of the things that we are committed to.
We haven't opened it yet.
No, it's not open yet. Should I wait until it's open for conversation?
Sure.
Open it?
Is there a motion to open the Talent Personnel Action Report?
Support.
It's been properly moved and supported. Discussion.
Thank you. I thought that was discussion for the board, not discussion for the superintendent.
You're
So
included.
thank you. Thank you. It does feel good to be a part of the team. We've heard from a lot of people regarding the changes that we've made, and as Secretary Smith-Thomas mentioned, the right of the superintendent when it comes to placement. We don't take any of those decisions lightly. We look at a lot of data points, and we look at the strengths of the staff that we have. We also find out about retirements, resignations, and various life-changing experiences that occur in people's lives, and we make mid-course corrections as we receive the data into the district. So I want all of the individuals to know that those who contacted us, reached out to us for various staffing concerns. We do work diligently to address those in a timely manner. Also, we have a legal obligation to the Department of Treasury to continue to work to right-size our organization, as they basically were the co-funding source for us to underwrite our bond application. So we do have to continue to work diligently on that. We were very successful in doing that through attrition in the district. We did lay off 2 individuals, but I'm pleased to say that we called those 2 individuals back already, if they so choose to come back. And then as we continue to receive updates, we do respond accordingly. So much of what you see in front of you this evening has been as a result of those changes that are continuously coming across our desk.
So I have one question, and it's related to staffing, but it is not directly related to the talent management report. I've made a request based on a conversation around numbers and right-sizing the district and who goes where and why. And I think that for transparency purposes, and I know that we are talking about redesigning websites and doing all of these things, I think that our enrollment, the numbers should be listed for each building.
Absolutely.
And I believe that our community and our parents should understand why a school gets an assistant principal. And I want to be really clear. I know that numbers matter, but I don't think support should only be based on how many people are in a building. And I hope that we are giving the support to the staff that they need at all times. This is a stressful space to be in. And I'm not even in the buildings every day, but I could not imagine leading buildings without a team. So I just would ask that we consider publishing our enrollment numbers as we move forward to becoming more better communicators, more effective. I think there's a level of transparency that we need to strive to have because I hear all the time, you don't know what's really happening behind the scenes. And we're told one thing and then you do another. And how does this work for one school and not the other? So I think that we should really strive to reach that level of transparency and explain as much as we can why we do what we do.
Absolutely, Board President. I've been working closely with Ms. Luddington, as you lifted earlier, who's done an amazing job in both carrying the pupil accounting manager position as well as backfilling her previous position through Oakland Schools. She did both jobs leading up to Monday of this week. That having been said, we have been monitoring the numbers closely, and one of the things we have to do better with is, and Trustee Smith-Thomas, I know that you know this to happen in education across many districts. There is padding of numbers that sometimes occur, and we have to make sure that when we receive drops in buildings, that we are actually dropping the students that are no longer with us so that we are not overinflating numbers in one area so that we can receive additional staffing as well. So we're doing a better job with scrubbing our numbers, that we are actually getting the students that are enrolled in our district registered and in class so that we can see the whites of their eyes, but that we're also doing a better job with cleaning up the data and taking the students out of our enrollment that do not actually attend our school district. We find ourselves at the beginning of the school year overstaffing when we are looking at numbers where the whites of the eyes have not been seen. And then after count day, when the auditor comes in and says you actually have 250 students less than what was reported, it becomes an issue. So we're trying to avoid that from happening as we move forward. Relative to supports, we have put together a matrix to show the entire community what qualifies for additional support. There are some anomalies, and the funding for school districts is very complex. It's not complicated, but it is complex. And Mr. Ingram does a good job with keeping everything separate, but there are different funding sources for different types of supports that go into school. Assistant principals and principals can only be funded out of general fund dollars. Those are the dollars that come from our general fund by way of student enrollment. And while we know that people, human capital, are not numbers, the state does not see it that way. They only provide funding to a school district by way of the ones that you can count. So we look for other revenue streams to offset that. We look for grant dollars. But we cannot use those grant dollars to pay for administration at the building level or at the central office level. Therefore, we come up with some other supports, such as the academic engagement supervisors that Ms. Rogers has been able to write in and get approved. We have some dean of culture. We have the student support coordinator and retention specialist. So all of those different types of positions that are grant funded are not a straight formula because we are dependent upon the language written in that grant to determine whether or not we can get those positions in the district. Once they are approved at the state and or federal level, we do bring those in. But what qualifies a building for that? So there's some anomalies. So to your point, being transparent without teaching a full class on those specific things, we do want to make sure that our community is aware of those. The IB program should have an IB coordinator, so that's an anomaly. The AP courses should have additional personnel for that and should have class sizes that are lesser than what's in the CBA. So there are a lot of different variables that are looked at when going into the staffing conversation, but we do want to be as transparent as possible. And as of today, there is a matrix that has been developed to share with you all.
So,
Go ahead.
Board President.
Yes, sir.
To that point, so I just want to know, as we mentioned before, and as Trustee Bell mentioned about being proactive, as we're setting our calendar for our upcoming study sessions, my question is, as it relates specifically to what Board President stated, because I've also heard this concern as well across the district, does this rest in a policy space under some of those policies I sent to you, Board President? Or is this more of an administrative guideline? And how do we ensure that we're capturing a system so that it's not a, a roller coaster, kind of move that happens every year or midway, but we actually have somewhere a reference where we align it to?
So this would fall under the administrative guidelines space because it is tied directly to our fiscal responsibility in the budget that we present to you. So once, the ultimate fiscal responsibility rests with you. Once we present a budget to you that is in alignment with what we are receiving from the state and federal revenue sources, we then have to move forward with how do we align everything that we do within the district to stay within budget and not exceed the budget that the board approves.
Okay, so I can see the direct connection to that. So then now my next ask is going to be that we actually have and see an administrative guideline to tie directly to this specific district system.
Absolutely.
So not specific to a building nor a person.
And that's the
but
matrix that we
system
developed
to-
today.
To the district.
Well, we've been working on it. It's not a newly developed document, but it was finalized today. So that is what you will see, and then we will tie it back to those policies that referenced the 3,000s, which are professional staff.
Yep, yep. And so then my other ask, Board President, if it be the pleasure of the board, this is just my own view as it relates to number 47, not the person, but the position. I'll let everybody catch up to it. That remains in place until the end of the school year so that we have some stability.
That is our intent.
Okay.
And that individual will also have an opportunity to interview to have the interim tag removed.
All right, thank you.
Absolutely.
That's all I have.
And doing a great job.
It might be your question, but I just want to know, where are we with student enrollment?
So as of the last report that I received, I'm sure Ms. Luddington probably has it on her fingertips, but I thought she did. We've been watching it every day, so I figured she did. Can you just forward that one to me, or? Yeah, we've been watching it every day, so we will have that information for you shortly. This report is still open.
Yep.
Yes, this is for Dr. Green.
Yes, ma'am.
You said you called back 2 positions. What positions are those?
Those were 2 teaching positions.
2 teaching? Okay. I think I might need more of an explanation on the support. It says I'm sorry, Trustee Bland said that the support is not contingent on how many are in that classroom.
So let me,
So what is it contingent on? I think you touched on that, Dr. Green, but.
So there's been this conversation going around the district that if you don't have 500 students, that you can't get support for a building leader. My issue is I don't see how you quantify support, right? My issue is the quality that we give our students. And if right now you have some schools that are reaching 30 kids in a classroom, one principal with no other building leadership, how is that fair? And how is that right? Because you need a support system. I don't see how you just lean on another teacher to help you lead a building. And I'm not an educator, right? But I am a parent and I am an alum, and I recognize when we're having gaps. And we have to value people. You can't just burn someone out because they don't reach a number. So my ask was that it's not the only factor. And I understand the padding, but I don't think every teacher in every building pads their numbers. I think that we have to look at things from a different lens sometime and have some humanity along with making sure that we're fiscally responsible. There is a happy medium, and there is a balance. And right now, we're trying to keep and retain, because we don't succession plan well, right? And we can call a spade a spade. We've had multiple people leave, and then the person that comes in to fill the position has no clue what to do. It's not okay. I'm not happy about it. So that's where I said, you know, I don't understand just saying because you don't reach a number that you can't get the help. I don't think that's right. It's not gonna work for my city. And it's not good enough for our kids. So it should never be the only reason that we turn someone down for getting help. And so that was my only ask.
Okay, because I see,
Just say
no,
numbers. Just say number.
number? No.
Oh, okay.
There's a lot of them.
You're right, you're right.
I see where there are some schools that have maybe 400, 450 in a classroom, but they only have like one in the, yeah, in the building, but they only have one principal and no support.
Right, so
Other
that's what
than-
I was speaking
that's
to
what I thought
relative
you were
to
talking about.
administrators versus support. So how do we qualify support, and where do we find the additional funding sources to provide that support? So that's where I mentioned the grant dollars that we receive, providing the academic engagement supports at the elementary school, providing the coordinators where possible through grant dollars, so that we are also maintaining that fund balance that we're required to have as well.
Thank you for that. So the principals that are in that position, are they aware of this?
Yes, many of
Yes.
them have these support personnel in their building. Some, based on the most recent numbers, will be receiving additional supports, but they will not be under the guise of a principal or assistant principal unless we are willing to amend the general fund to add additional positions to the budget.
Because if they're not if they're not like an assistant principal, other than that, wouldn't they be under a different type of bargaining unit?
Some are not, some are under bargaining units, some are not. If they're not in the administrators' bargaining group, they are considered to be unaffiliates, and most of our grant-funded positions are that of unaffiliates for that specific reason, because those funding sources come with their own set of guidelines that we must adhere to ensure that those funding sources continue to come to the district.
I think Trustee Bell has something, and then I see Trustee Smith.
I just wanted to be clear. It's not numbers, right, that determine that the building would get.
It's one of the factors.
It's one of the factors.
Correct.
But other buildings that may have lower numbers of students enrolled may have an assistant principal based off the funding source. Is that what you're saying?
Not an assistant principal, based on some anomalies for a building. So for example, there may be a building that is receiving an influx of students from another building that is being taken offline. So there's a transitional plan in place for that particular school to receive additional students because we're closing out another building. So that building may have 2 administrators because there are an influx of students coming to that campus from one of the buildings that were taken offline. That's one example of a consideration that is different from numbers, but leans into numbers because ultimately their numbers are going to significantly increase because of the number of students that are coming over from another school. So it does have to do with numbers, but doesn't have to do with current numbers. The numbers are constantly increasing. Thinking back to another one of our schools that is a community school. So there are some supports that will be in place there that other schools won't have because it's a requirement of the community schools grant. That being the community schools coordinator, and then reintroducing the academic engagement specialist, which all of our elementary school students, all of our elementary schools have throughout our district.
So if funding is the issue, is this something that we need to discuss to add additional funding to the general fund so that our students have the support that they need to add that support staff?
So I suggest we look at the funding, the formula that has been designed, and also your reference supporting data points that we have, because it's important that we look at what is best practice, not only here in Southfield, but through some of our other successful state, local, and national schools, and what they have in place for best practices for models for specific age groups, because there are different phases in children's lives. So what you have with early childhood looks completely different than what you have at elementary school, which looks different for a K-8, that looks different for a standalone middle school, which looks different from a junior high school, that looks different from a comprehensive high school. And we have a plethora of all of those things here happening in Southfield. So to the board president's point, there's not a one-size-fits-all. It really has to be looked at on an individual basis. And to trustee Joyce's point, the current enrollment as of this evening, I am pleased to report, is up 137 students from the fall count of 2022. So we're at 5,011 students.
Okay.
Now, that is not an audited number.
Right.
Again, we have to get through count in order to claim that, but as of this evening, we are up 137 students.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm telling you.
Thank you all.
Thank you. Yes, so you actually hit on some of the points. I wrote down data points being used. I had a question mark, school models for leadership, school factors that are impacting. And so my specific ask, Board President, we have we have two upcoming study sessions, special meetings. If those agendas have not been set yet, I'm going to ask that this item be on the most, okay.
September. I can't help what you
Every
do. You
time
do
I
what
say
you do.
something.
So we had, we
Earlier.
met a little earlier, because a lot of these points.
We have not had
We
these
have not had this
conversations in
conversation,
advance,
that is
just so that
true.
folks know.
So
This is not planned.
a lot of what I just said, in response to, trustee Holloway, I said to Dr. Green earlier. And, she said that they are pulling all the data points together for us, the models, the numbers, and they will present it to us for the study session this month, right? Because we knew this was going to be, it's a point of concern. So that's what is being pulled together, and then we already talked about study session for October. So this is being pulled in. So you should have this for September's meeting.
Okay.
The data points, the right sizing, like understanding it all under the umbrella to see how the pieces fit.
So then, to the point that trustee Belk made as it relates to the funding component of this as well, I'm also going to ask that we have a funding lens associated with this. If in the case we find as a board that there are some changes, some more immediate changes we would like to see happen this school year to support as needed, then we have a full understanding of what that looks like from a funding space and an amendment to the budget.
Absolutely. Also note that we sat down with each building level leader to discuss their schedules earlier this summer and asked for their feedback relative to what supports were needed. We have some that are more vocal in articulating what it is they need, and we try to provide those supports as needed. So we encourage that continued conversation and transparency to ensure that we're providing that support. Also, we will be coming back to you with some additions, because we do now have new numbers. As Ms. Ludington shared with us, there are some buildings that worked diligently in increasing their numbers once this became a conversation. Unfortunately, we have relied too heavily on status quo and people just coming to us versus actually going out and marketing the amazing things happening in our respective buildings. Once we began to have the conversation relative to right sizing, some people were more intentional in marketing the great things happening in their building, and as a result, their student enrollment has increased, which will result in us coming back to you and asking for increased FTEs in some of the buildings.
I'm going to just say this, I'm going to highlight, and she didn't know this was happening. Oh, did she leave already?
She did leave after she was
left.
crying.
Because someone came
Watching.
to me and asked if Stevenson was an application school.
I'm only laughing
We had a-
because she's gone, but it says
She's listening
volumes
online.
Seriously.
who she is.
Seriously.
a great
And,
school.
and I had to, share in conversation with this person, just my history and being on the board and what I've seen come about and happen and transform with Stevenson. And I said, I don't know if she even sees herself as a turnaround leader, but that's how I see her. And so that was just really pleasing to have that question presented to me, because that is what's happening in the community at large. People want to go to Stevenson, and people are talking about Stevenson in a way that this is the first time that I've experienced with that. So I would love to, again, deep dive on, what are some of those best practices that are happening, and how do we as a board make sure we are supporting the work, if it's a financial, if it's a talent, management, whatever needs to happen. Not only Stevenson, but all of the schools, of course, but I just wanted to highlight that came to me, because I just thought that was really awesome to hear. And I've been over there quite a few times last year and plan to go again, quite a few more times this year and everything. So I can see the good things that are happening as we all do, so.
So Trustee Smith-Thomas, to your point, when we had a conversation, I specifically had a conversation with that principal, and I called her and said, okay, you are bursting at the seams. You can no longer accept another student unless they are in your boundary. Because if they're in your boundary, then we are legally obligated to enroll that child, right? And 5 minutes later, she called back, oh, Dr. Green, just 2 more, just 3 more, I'm like, okay, we can't do this. My next question was, what support do you need? Because I can tell her what I can give her, but I need to hear from her what it is that she needs to make that school successful and what support she needs to have in place. So she is thinking about that as we speak. So I know that these conversations are happening. And very similar to what you heard from the athletic department and other people, you hear all of the things that people want to change, but you don't hear about the things that are going well. You don't hear about the conversations that are happening that are productive. You don't hear about the supports that are in place, about the people that are following the buses to make sure the young fives get to where they need to go and get on the bus and then drive to their stop and make sure they get off the bus, and the very special signs that we're putting in. So you don't hear about those things, and we need to make sure that you're hearing a balance of what is happening in the district, because the squeaky wheel does get the oil, and unfortunately, we have a lot of things squeaking right now. We need to make sure that we're applying oil, but that we're continuing to build up those that are doing the right thing and the positive systems that are in place. So we have a lot of hardworking people.
Yeah, I got something to say. Can I speak?
Of course.
So, listen, I, over the last couple of years, going to some of the conferences, national conferences, I had the opportunity to meet with some high-performing districts across this United States. One was in Texas and one was in one of the Dakotas. And what they did is they made sure that communication, that's why you've been hearing me saying this a lot, that the communication is, and the transparency is going out into their communities. And what they've done in doing that, they've had the community walk away from charter schools and get back into public schools because of communication. Just because of communication and transparency. They shared their vision, and people came joined because of their vision and because of their communication. Vision is what leads people. And if you're transparent and you're honest and there's communication, people will come and join. They will leave those private and charter schools, and you'll look around and you'll have an increase in your student enrollment. And so and I'll make sure that I get notes, bring them back to you guys in our special meetings, and share with you those districts that were able to do that. That's very, very important. Communication is key to getting people on board.
Absolutely. And I think we're starting to see that, but we need to do a better job of making sure that that communication is consistent at all levels of the organization.
Exactly. That's right.
Absolutely.
Did anybody else have anything for report 6207?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Numbers 31 through 39, again, not the people, the positions, because these look like pretty key positions. What's our impact to classroom sizes? Are those?
So these positions that warrant being backfilled have definitely been posted. I did speak with our supervisor, our director of ISSN specifically, who was pre-screening applications and holding interviews for those positions. The work has been shared where possible to provide the support, and in some cases, unfortunately, we do have some administrators that have stepped into some roles to take care of a few of those classrooms as well. So we are working feverishly to backfill those positions. I was very pleased to receive a call from one of our retirees this weekend stating that they had enough with retirement and they wanted to come back. So that's one of those positions that is on this chart that could potentially be backfilled with one of our previous teachers that spent their 9 months in retirement and is willing to come back.
Okay. I'm gonna ask on the upcoming personnel report, that there be an alignment reflecting as each of these are being.
Coming in, going out? Yes.
Thank you.
Through the chair.
Yes, ma'am.
Line 46. Is this a promotion or just a change in title?
So this individual had been interviewed and accepted the position. I think that this happened last month.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure why this is actually on here today, but this is something that had already taken place. So I believe that it was the contract piece that was being finalized.
So you did bring up your director of ISSN, and I would like to commend her for stepping up the way she has. Every single email that had to do with one of our special students, she replied in time. She called parents. I know it's a hard role to step into, but to Ms. Smith, good job. We appreciate you. I know this was a rough school year start, so way to step up. And I would like to say that I am sad to see number 37 go.
Yes, as am I.
And that I hope that we can backfill with someone who had as much vigor and integrity that number 37 did in that position. Yeah. Does anyone else have anything for this
One other
report?
question.
Sure.
Number 47, Mr.
Oh, sorry.
No, just the number.
Oh. Okay. Okay, nobody knows, but thank you, I'll know next time.
And I think I know where you're going with this, Trustee Holloway. Is it relative to the additional compensation piece for that individual?
Yes,
So that is contractual per that person's current collective bargaining agreement. That is not something that the administration could negotiate. That is spelled out in their collective bargaining agreement.
okay, I apologize, that wasn't it. The position, interim,
We just
so.
had that conversation. Remember, that's the one that she asked, that she wanted to go the whole year. And then she said that it would hopefully fall off.
Okay, I thought I heard that.
Yes,
Okay.
yes,
Okay.
absolutely.
Yeah.
I know it's getting a little late, and we're all getting a little loopy, so please, I completely understand. We'll keep bringing it back.
We're gonna keep reeling.
Absolutely.
I just want to know, how did everybody know this? But me, I'm not mentioning the name. I'm like, I don't
getting
remember
late.
that. I'm like, you remember? Okay, I apologize. I'm like,
Rodeo number 6.
okay, I apologize.
Okay. Does anybody else have anything for this report?
By number, by number.
Yes, no? Are we good? Okay,
still have a lot
thank
of
you all.
items.
We do have a lot of items, and I was gonna talk to you about that. Board Secretary, I don't even know where we at. Please call for the vote. Thank you, Board Secretary.
Technically, we
Opened it. We didn't.
We didn't open and
I
approve.
thought that's where we
With the
were.
motion, so if trustee Wirdavall would just amend.
To open and approve.
I amend by opening and approving.
Support.
It's been properly moved and supported. Any more discussion? Hearing none. Board Secretary, please call for the vote.
Trustee Wirdavall. Yes. Myself, yes. Trustee Joyce.
Yes.
Trustee Johnson.
Yes.
Trustee Holloway.
Yes.
Trustee Bland.
Yes.
Trustee Volk.
Yes.
Excuse me.
Unanimous.
Motion carried. So Dr. Green, we have guests here that are external to the district. Are there, and I like to respect people's time. I knew this was gonna be a long one. It's the first one of the school year. But for things that require anyone outside of the district, trustees, would you mind if we moved them up? We have some reports about construction, and I see Plant Moran and Barton Mallow have been here patiently waiting if we needed their input. Is that okay to move them up? Okay,
So
thank you.
7E through 7K.
Okay, so 7E through 7K, we will hear about at this moment, and then we'll come back around to 7A, if that is the wish of the board. Okay, I appreciate you.
Awesome. 7E, Report 6212, is the Bussey Center Award recommendation for the chiller replacement. You briefly heard Mr. Dan Anderson mention that earlier today. That is an ESSER-funded project.
Yes.
For the mechanical equipment, and you will see a secondary, which is 7F, that is the actual labor to install, which is being paid for out of Head Start funds. So we've, as at the behest of the board, started separating those out so that you could see the differences. But those two are tied, and those have been approved and are grant funded. So if it's the wish of the board to move those to approval. Again, our board policy says that the superintendent shall apply for grants and that we shall move forward in that. But going back to the transparency piece and the communication piece, we want the community to know how we are spending those dollars. So those are those two reports. You may recall for the last several summers, we had temporary chillers installed there at Bussey. This will ensure that we have continuity of permanent air conditioning there with our little babies over the summer, as they do run a year-round program. Report 7G, which is 6214, those are the change orders for Adler. The Adler location on Fenmore, is that their proper address? Thank you, all my addresses are running together now, not that of Eisenhower, to ensure that we are able to get that additional work done that we mentioned, and those are going to be under bond dollars. So while we have them out of the school, the committee did decide to move forward with the additional work of doing the ceilings, the flooring, the bathrooms, the lighting, et cetera, so that we don't have to displace that staff or those students twice.
Okay. And that's where the change order comes in?
Yes.
Okay.
Did I miss anything? Is that not that change order? I've got a whole lot of change orders here, so.
Come on down, TJ.
Come on down, TJ. And Dan, come up and join her. Dan, come on up, come on down. You're the next contestant on the Price is Right. It's gonna be my next life. So is this a different change order?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, very good.
Good evening.
Good evening.
So the change order that Dr. Green was starting to elaborate on, this is for revised hardware sets to the exterior
Got it.
doors, new connections for boilers, and it's replacing both boilers as opposed to one.
Just the one. Oh, so that other one is forthcoming. So that, okay, that's coming your way in the very near future. The additional work that we're doing there, this is specific to replacing out both boilers to ensure that we don't have one new one and one that may fail on us shortly after we reopen the building. So this is replacing the large one and the smaller one?
Yes.
Okay.
I just got one question. I do remember when one of those boilers was installed. So one is older than the other, the Adler. But the newer one, you don't see that one as being fit to hold on to?
I think that's the smaller one that
Yeah,
is
that's
the
the
newer
smaller
one.
one.
And the
Right.
problem is that the larger one goes out, the smaller one doesn't have the capacity to hold that entire
Okay.
building. So we want to make sure that they are being properly
The
replaced.
smaller one has also had problems already.
Yeah.
Oh, did it? Okay.
And while you remember it being replaced,
Yeah.
time is going by really fast. And it's been several decades
It has
since
been.
it's been replaced, so.
Okay, don't-
Not several decades.
I'm just being truthful. Mr. Anderson, am I correct
Oh, my
in saying
goodness.
it's been?
Several.
To that timeline, but I know it does need repair or replacement.
Okay,
Yes,
thank
let's
you.
be political. He said, I
Hey,
could
no,
not
it's
speak
been
to
a long
that.
time. So the reason I say that is because I don't want our community to think we're wasting money and we're simply replacing things because we want to replace them. We are looking at the life expectancy on
It
everything,
makes
so.
me look old.
No.
I think I am okay to say that this community, if they've been in our buildings.
They know.
They definitely know we just not willy-nilly spending money on replacements for
Especially
our
HVAC.
extremely old items.
Yeah.
But we appreciate you, Dr. Green.
Yeah, we're just being
And you
diligent.
are not old, you are seasoned. Big difference.
Thank you so much.
So we
Experience.
have,
Yes, so that's the change order for those two
Got it,
pieces.
okay.
Okay, don't move because we have some more change orders and my
So,
issue is that we have a lot of
for-
conversations, so I just.
For
wanna make sure.
those two change orders, what's the total?
For,
Because that's bond funding, right?
that is bond
Okay.
funded, and that was not under emergency approval.
Okay.
So we would need that to be approved by the
Okay.
Board of Education.
let me
And
find
if
it.
I am not
6214.
mistaken, 6214.
They all run together at this, 97, thank you.
No, I'm asking, is that?
Yes, it is.
So that's glass, mechanical,
Yep.
and telecommunications.
Yep. So it's $175,000.
Okay,
$266 to be exact.
okay. Is there something else that you need to group to be
Well, that's
actionable?
not, that's Adler. So all of the construction pieces, again, as you heard us mention, there's going to be another series
Okay.
coming before you at the next meeting, and the next
Okay.
meeting, and the next meeting for
Got
the
it.
next 10 years. So as we can move these items to action, as the trustees feel comfortable with doing so, it can continue the process of the
Sure.
work and not slow us down. So the Eisenhower Elementary renovations is next, and that is the roof
Yeah.
piece, of which I had individual conversations with several of you that were present on site, and then put it in the memorandum to all of you, and you did, you were so kind as to grant us approval to move forward with that, because that does become a safety and health issue. We don't leverage emergency orders unless it is a safety issue or a health issue, and there, during the open house, ironically, as we did our continued rounds, we noticed 3 additional areas that needed repair with the roof, so we are moving forward with that roof piece. But in accordance with our board policy, it states that even when we receive emergency approval, we bring that item to you at the next regularly scheduled board meeting, of which we're doing today.
Board President.
Yes, sir.
So now, does that take care of the roof?
The entire roof
entire
would be
roof of
replaced.
Eisenhower?
Yes.
Okay, awesome.
They said the repair that is proposed for the roof
Yes.
will provide the district with a 15-year warranty.
Okay, great, great.
And we only have 10 years of swing space needed, so.
That's
And we will do
15 years.
Is that for
preventative
workmanship?
Yeah, and we will do preventative
Is that
maintenance.
for workmanship,
Absolutely.
or is this just for the material?
That's
You
for
said
the-
15
that's-
years?
That's both, yeah.
Oh, my
It's
goodness.
comprehensive.
Okay.
So the next item on there is that of MacArthur and the True North proposal, again, having received emergency permission to continue that work over the Labor Day holiday, so that we did the additional work with the one storm drain, not storm drain, catch basin, thank you. I knew it had to do with water. Catch basin that needed more extensive work than the others, and then also the asphalt work to get the holes repaired there at MacArthur. So having received the approval from 4 trustees, again, in accordance with our board policy, bringing it before the entire body for approval at the next regularly scheduled meeting, which is that of today. And I actually spoke out of order because the Shana Roofing is 6217, and the one that is 6215 is the P and L piece, and I believe the P and L piece was the additional,
That was the additional.
additional painting.
So this was just a report back.
This is a report back to you, so that was part of the $1.3 million of emergency funds you had already granted. So that's us reporting to you how we spent that money. And you have evidence of those photos in your packet, and you were able to see it in real time. And for those that have not had a chance to see it in real time, we welcome you to come to the building because it is truly beautiful. And I've heard from several members of that subdivision, they're happy to see children back in their community, so. I think those are all of the construction change reports, emergency reports, and requests for additional work to keep the projects moving forward.
Did we talk about the bond program construction management award?
No, we did not, because that's a separate award. That is the recommendation of Plant Moran Cressa and the administration to award Barton Mallow the contract to continue working with us on our bond work for the next decade.
Okay, so we said E through K though.
Yes.
Okay.
We did.
Okay.
I can't tell alphabet right now. E
Okay.
through J.
Okay, E
I'm a
through J.
little
I'm
loopy.
with you.
E
Okay.
through J,
So
and
need
then
to,
we have,
Your
yes,
ask that we make these actionable?
if it is the pleasure of the board, yes.
Trustees, is there a motion on the
So
floor?
moved.
Thank you.
Support.
Thank you, sir.
Clarity.
Yes, ma'am.
EFGJ.
EFGHIJ.
H,
Reports.
I, H and I have been previously approved, so this would be information.
So H is out of the emergency funds, the 1.3 million. So even though it was part of the emergency funds, we are still bringing back all of those items to you. And I was the emergency where I called trustees to receive permission to move forward.
Okay, so I understand. H, I'm still a little.
So technically, it's under the
You want
bucket.
us to, because we've already approved.
You approved
but
that we
you want us
spent,
to approve how it was spent.
correct,
Okay.
correct. It's under the bucket of the 1.3, but we, again, being transparent, is we are bringing everything back to you. So I and J should state, J should stay previously approved as well, because that was under the emergency contingent.
That was the roof.
Yep, that was the roof for Eisenhower.
Okay.
Okay. So we know for record-keeping purposes, these will not be recorded twice.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct, and we will make that modification. And that is actually on the actual recommendation
It sounds
from
like
Barton Mallow.
So we did approve, and I get what, so basically, she's bringing us the line items under the umbrella of the 1.3 every time they deduct.
And I
funding.
certainly appreciate that. I want to make sure for accounting and auditing purposes, because
That we're
I'm
not
not.
double approving.
And I'm so
accountant,
glad you
and I'm
mentioned that,
not
because
an
we have a
auditor.
recommendation for a bond auditor on this agenda as well.
I just want to make sure these are not being
Double.
Duplication.
double. Yes,
Correct,
absolutely.
correct. And at the end of all of the work at Eisenhower, we will have a comprehensive report to share with you that will have all of the 1.3 million and how all of it was spent. So it will be a triplicate of what was already approved for transparency purposes.
All right, very good.
It's been properly moved and supported. Any more discussion?
Hear none.
Hearing none. Board Secretary, please call for the vote. Thank you for the assistance, trustee.
I was trying not to do that.
Clarity again.
Yes, ma'am.
The motion was to open and approve, yes?
Yes.
And not to make actionable.
Correct.
We are so we need to approve.
We don't have
You
to,
can
we
make it
can open
actionable.
approve.
We can open and approve.
That'll make it actionable,
Okay.
but I want to ensure it was
Yes, you're correct.
You did say open and
open and
approve.
approve. Okay, all right, thank
It's
you.
getting late.
It's late, I'm hungry.
Midnight.
My ear's not working right.
Okay. No discussion.
said so moved. Joyce.
Board Secretary, please call for the vote.
Trustee Belt,
Yes.
trustee Bland,
Yes.
trustee Holloway,
Yes.
trustee Johnson,
Yes.
trustee Joyce,
Yes.
myself, yes, trustee Ware Duval,
Yes.
unanimous.
Motion carried. Thank you very much.
Board President, while they're still standing here and Mr. Bukowski is also here, the next item, K, is that of the recommendation for the construction management team and the award to give Barton Mallow the opportunity to continue working with the district for the duration of the bond program. You do have a report included in your packet, which outlines the key members of the team that will be working with the district, Mr. Bukowski, Mr. Anderson, of which you both know, Mr. Vasquez, Mr. Crosby, who was actually the project superintendent for the Eisenhower project. Many of you have met him. He's done an amazing job. The financial controls that will be in place, and our community engagement director. So all of that is included in your packet on pages
143.
It's duplication of page numbers because their pages were numbered and then they were renamed as they came into our packet. But all of that is here in your information section. TJ, would you like to speak to the recommendation?
I was going to say, summary of it. So on behalf of the board, or at the request of the superintendent, Plant Moran Cressa entered into negotiations, continued negotiations with Barton Mallow. And the recommendation that we're bringing forward is because the fee, number one, is a fee that's reasonable for a bond project of this magnitude. Comes in within what we have as our historical data for a project of this type and size. You guys are currently engaged with Barton Mallow. They've also helped to write the bond program. They've exercised great performance on the Eisenhower project, which is another reason for the recommendation. We've also looked at ways to holistically look at the bond program. And so as part of their proposal, it has also been proposed to take the bond program from a 10-year program to an 8-year program.
So we can get it finished faster. And one of the things that we've heard consistently with our Board of Education is ensuring that we have performance standards and/or off-ramps for contracts if performance ever becomes a question. So that was another thing, looking at logical off-ramps in the event, and we don't foresee this ever happening, but looking at off-ramps in the event that we need to exit from the contract based on performance standards. So there are 3 logical off-ramps that have been embedded into this contract. And thank you to Barton Mallow for coming down on their fee to the tune of approximately $5 million.
Yep. All right.
Is this a item that you're asking us to make actionable this evening?
If possible. And the reason I state if possible, the contracts actually go through Barton Mallow as a CMA, and in order for them to be able to issue those contracts, they have to have a contract with the district in order to make that happen.
Understood. So with the 5 million, that the decrease put us at the 11.8%, which is in the range of your 10 to 12%.
Correct.
Okay, got it. That looks good. Trustees, does anyone want to put a motion on the floor to make this report actionable? It's a big packet. Sorry, I'm slapping everything around.
So moved.
6218, thank you.
Support.
It's been properly moved and supported to open and approve Report 6218, Bond Program Construction Management Award Recommendation. Any other discussion? Hearing none. Trustee Smith Thomas, would you please call for the vote?
Sorry, I'm still reading.
Reading, understood.
Just underlining a few
Got it.
things. Okay.
All right.
Trustee Belk.
Yes.
Trustee Bland.
Yes.
Trustee Holloway.
Yes.
Trustee Johnson.
Yes.
Trustee Joyce.
Yes.
Myself, yes. Trustee Ware Duval.
Yes.
Unanimous.
Motion carried. And Dr. Green, do you want to go to report 6219? Does this fall under
Sure.
Plant Moran so we
Well,
can get done?
yes and no.
Okay.
It is the recommendation for a bond auditor,
I will
and
take
given
that
that Plant
recommendation.
Moran Cressa is our owner's rep, and Plant Moran, separate and apart from Plant Moran Cressa, is our auditing agency, we are asking that Plant Moran, the auditing arm of Plant Moran, do an audit of the bond dollars as well, since they are already on site doing the audit of our books. There is a letter of independence that has been provided to show the delineation of duty and separation of Plant Moran, the auditing firm, from that of Plant Moran Cressa.
Yes. Right.
Got it.
And it's for $5,000, and while it may not seem, to meet the threshold that we normally bring forward, again, for transparency, we want people to know that we are looking at delineation of duties and the letter of independence for an internal control. To go back to what Trustee Smith Thomas said, and making sure that we're not being double charged and that everything is accounted for.
Trustees, are there any questions about the recommendation for a bond auditor?
Is this a one-time,
Annually,
this is annual, okay?
yes.
And an annual fee?
Yes, in alignment with our annual audit. So it's 5,000 this year. I can't say that in 8 years it's still going to be 5,000, but this report will come back to you every year for approval to have an auditor for, specifically to that of the bond dollars.
Trustees, is there a motion to open and approve Report 6219, the recommendation for a bond auditor at $5,000 for this year, correct?
So moved.
Support.
It's been properly moved and supported. Any discussion? Hearing none. Board Secretary, please call for the vote.
Trustee Ware Duval.
Yes.
Myself, yes. Trustee Joyce.
Yes.
Trustee Johnson.
Yes.
Trustee Holloway.
Yes.
Trustee Bland.
Yes.
Trustee Belk.
Yes.
Unanimous.
Motion carried.
And Board President, if I may add, again, for complete transparency, the reason that the dollar amount is significantly lower this month than most audits for this year is because we just received the bond dollars in May, if you
Okay.
recall. So they're only
There's
truly
not a lot to
auditing
audit.
2 months
Yeah.
of work. So the dollar amount next year, I can pretty much guarantee is going to be significantly higher because they'll have 12 months' worth of books to audit for the bond dollars. So I just wanted that to be noted for the record also.
Thank you. Thank you, TJ.
Thank you, TJ.
Have a
So
good
is
night.
there, I have a question about that. Is there a timeline where the books must be audited? Can we not
So we
wait to
can-
extend it out a little bit?
So we can, there are several trains of thoughts. One is an annual audit on the books, which is what we're attempting to do now. Our books closed June 30, and therefore they will audit May and June. Next year, when they come out and we close our books, they will do this in tandem with the actual regular school audit. So
Okay.
it will be annually. Some districts don't do the audit until
The
3 years
very
out,
end.
5 years out, or the very end. The problem with that is you don't
You already lost your
understand
money.
what issues you need to work on. So we wanted to have our audit done every year to ensure that if there is anything that we needed to work on relative to material weaknesses, that we can get those things corrected on the front end.
Okay.
That's why we're also bringing it forward to you. And with 2 auditors on our Board of Education, I'm sure that they have their thoughts on that as well.
I
So-
can support that. So we're looking at a fiscal year
Yes,
not a calendar year.
that is correct.
Okay.
In accordance with the school district's fiscal year. And this will be reported up to the state as well, which will assist us with the Department of Treasury in making sure that they are progress monitoring what we're doing with the dollars that they've co-signed.
Okay, I can support that.
All right. Thank you, Bart Mello and Plant Moran, for your time. We appreciate you.
Talk to you in the morning.
So we are going back to information items A, Report 6208, Family Needs and Outcomes Assessments, Policies, and Procedures.
Yes, A and B, 6208 and 6209 are both under the Head Start. So Dr. Thompson, if you would grace us with your presence at the podium to talk us through those pieces. It's really warm.
I was just about to
It's
say,
really
does
warm in
anyone
here.
need a 5-minute recess? Dr. Thompson, before you present, I am going to ask that we get a 5-minute recess. We've been
Where's the
sitting in
new
these
COO?
chairs for 3 hours
Where's
at
the new
this point.
COO? So we can get the air going.
We don't have to. I mean, it's up to you guys.
gotta go to bed?
Okay.
We can get some cold water and
Does
continue
anyone need
through.
cold water? Okay.
Okay.
If we can just
Mr.
get some
Jackson,
cold
if we
water.
Mr. Jackson, if we can get some cold water for the trustees so that we can continue through.
Anybody
Ms.
need to
Luddington,
stand up?
I get emails from you at 1, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. Please go home. Okay. That's a directive. I mean, I really, I get emails from you in the middle of the night. I want you to be well-rested tomorrow. Please go home. Okay. And
Thank
text
you,
me
Ms.
upon your
Luddington.
arrival. Okay. I'm sorry. I mean, she emails me at 1, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, so I want to make sure she's well-rested.
Thank you, Dr. Thompson. The floor is yours.
None of that goes in the minutes.
So, good evening. Yes, Superintendent, Board Chair, and trustees. So I'm coming before you, I'm asking, these are 2 informational items that I need approval on as well. So if you recall, in October of 2022, we had a focus area to review with the Office of Head Start. So there were a couple of things that we had to correct. And 2 of the things that we had to do was, we had they looked at our family needs and outcomes assessments. We had our procedures outlined, but we didn't have the policies that were acceptable to them. We did work with our grantee specialist. When she looked at the information that the reviewers had looked at, she said they seemed acceptable to her, but she worked with us in terms of developing and shoring up our policies and our procedures for family outcomes and assessments. So she wants, so for each of our families that comes in, we have to develop a partnership agreement. And so those were some of the things that we looked at, making sure that we were doing those partnership agreements and actually were showing the outcomes that that families came up with. So if we had families that had needs, like for if they needed food or if they needed housing and things like that, or if they expressed interest in going back to school, we needed to make sure that if that was, those were some of their goals, we needed to make sure that those outcomes were represented. So, but we had to really shore up our procedures and then develop a new policy for that. So so that's what that's presented. So that's the first piece with the family needs and outcomes assessments for the policies and procedures. And then the second one has to do with the policies and procedures for services to enroll pregnant women. So, you know that we have an early Head Start program now. We have 2 classrooms. And so when we have pregnant mothers to come in, they actually can have a slot in our program. So we follow them during their pregnancy, make sure that they have prenatal care, they have a medical home, and then once they have the baby, we're supposed to do home visits and things like that. So make sure they have the adequate resources and their babies are getting the medical care they need after they're born, and then they're enrolled in our program as well. So there needs to be a procedures that we follow as well as a policy in place. So those are the 2 things that they addressed during that focus, well, 2 of the things that they addressed during our the correct focus area to review that they did in October. So we developed the policies and procedures. So that's the information, and we needed approval on those two policies and procedures.
Trustees, Dr. Thompson has asked for us to open and approve report 6209 and 6208. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Do we,
Support.
it's been properly moved and supported. Does anyone have any questions for Dr. Thompson? Hearing none.
I do, real quick. Dr. Connie, for the pregnant women, are you seeing an increase in pregnant mothers coming into the, are you?
Yeah, we had one pregnant mother, she came in after the review.
Yeah, I
So
see.
she's actually, she was enrolled in the program, and her baby's in the program now. And then we have two that are on our wait list. So, yeah.
Yeah,
So
awesome.
we probably knew, we're going up for, this is our 5th year of our grant. So we'll be writing, well, I'll be writing a new grant
Yeah, yeah.
in April. So we're hoping to get another early Head Start program, maybe do a conversion. So have another early program, because we have so many babies coming in, and we have a lot of pregnant mothers as well. If our community needs assessment, if the data supports that. For sure. So,
And so I just want to say, every time I go to Bussy, I have to go to Dino. I have to go to the Dino room
baby time.
where there's the babies in there. I mean, it's addictive. When you go in, I have to go in and see the babies, and then when I leave, I have to go back to see the babies before I leave out. It is so awesome to see those babies in the arms, and yeah, so it's a great program, and I just want to know, so thank you.
Thank you.
Trustees, is there any more discussion or any questions for Dr. Thompson? Hearing none. Board Secretary, please call for the vote.
Trustee Holloway.
Yes.
Trustee Joyce.
Yes.
Trustee Johnson.
Yes.
Trustee Belt.
Yes.
Trustee Werdeval.
Yes.
Trustee Bland.
Yes.
Myself, yes. Unanimous.
Thank you.
Motion carried. Thank you, Dr. Thompson.
Thank you.
Okay. We have, this one. Report 6210,
Okay.
the elevator.
So elevators,
Y'all know this is a touchy one for me.
it is indeed, and that was the air that was just.
I heard
on.
it.
So when I stepped out, we went to find the breaker panel.
Thank you, COO. Already working, already working.
And he too can speak to the elevator piece. So at the first or second day of school, I received a call from one of our building level leaders stating that the state decided to come out and inspect our elevators, and they red tagged many of our elevators and shut them down. It's not because we did not do our annual inspection of our elevators by way of Otis. It's because during the pandemic, we could not load test the elevators because everything was on a modified schedule. That having been said, now that the state is catching up with the inspections that they have to do, they decided to shut down all of our elevators. So we had to move forward on an emergency contingency to ensure that our buildings, specifically those with students that need elevator access, had elevator access. So the proposed cost to get all of the elevators in our district load tested is $84,000. Well, it's actually $113,000, of which $29,000 would very well be charged back to us already, and an additional $84,270 outstanding to ensure that all the red tags be removed from our elevators district-wide.
Any questions?
Yes, how many elevators?
Mr. Corus,
A wing?
how many elevators do we have total? I mean, we have 3 at the high school, we have the ones at, we have 10 total, 10 total. 4 are down. Yeah.
Because they've been down since I was in the cast in the 10th grade.
Well, this team is diligent in making
Just
sure
saying.
that we get these. And unfortunately, we have some buildings that are 2 stories that don't have elevators,
Yeah,
right? So
you
then
ain't
that's
gotta
that
tell me
piece
the
that
ones
we have to
got
work on.
elevators. I was hobbling up them stairs.
Right.
But we do
saying.
want to make sure, because we do have some scholars that
Thompson.
are
Thompson never did.
challenged.
Thompson doesn't have.
They do not have
Nope,
one.
they do not. I hobbled up those
Right,
stairs as
right.
well. Yep, broke something.
We don't want any additional scholars to hobble.
So.
Sure that we get this.
Bad memories, bad memories.
And this will come out of the general
General
fund, but specifically the construction line item that we have separate from
Well,
our
I
regular
know that
fund.
it's worth it.
Yeah, it is.
Trustees, can we open and approve this one? Get this out of the way, please?
So moved.
Support.
Thank you. It's been properly moved and supported. I just have one question. When does the testing start?
It
Load
started
testing?
on the
Okay,
7th.
perfect. And
Yeah,
they'll
the
be
7th was the
done.
first
And
day.
it'll be done this Thursday.
Okay, good
We're
timing.
moving at warp
Yep.
speed.
And that's an annual, is that correct?
The load testing piece is what had not happened. So we do have an annual inspection, but the load testing piece is,
Different.
yeah, it's a little different, so,
Thursday.
yeah.
So, sir, you did come in working, huh?
Oh, he came in working and recommended that he get fired all in the same week.
Yes, ma'am.
They wouldn't let me go though.
But I think the question that trustee, that Vice President Ball has is, we know that we do a safety check on the elevators every year, but the load testing, does the load testing have to happen every year?
5.
Every 5, okay.
And is there a maintenance agreement? Do we have?
With Otis, yes.
And I do remember Felicia Venable actually bringing that to our attention when she joined as well. It's been properly moved and supported. Is there any other discussion? Don't you do it. Board Secretary, please call for the vote.
Sorry, listen, I have first graders this year, okay?
Oh, Jesus.
And I
Love
did not eat
first
dinner.
Okay.
Trustee Wirdavall.
Yes.
Myself, yes. Trustee Joyce.
Yes.
Trustee Johnson.
Yes.
Trustee Holloway.
Yes.
Trustee Bland.
Yes.
Trustee Belk.
Yes.
Unanimous.
Motion carried, thank you. Okay, Payne Landscaping, Report 6211.
Yes, this is
Home stretch.
our landscaping company that's been doing an amazing job keeping our buildings curb appeal up. And as you heard, one of our community stakeholders mention, even when we call them back out to do areas that really are not our property, they are still community oriented, and they come out and take care of what is necessary for our community as a whole, relative to properties that are adjacent to our facilities. The landscaping at Eisenhower, they did an amazing job peeling back the 10 acres there and putting in new shrubbery in the front, and we want to keep them on board for the next 3 years. So that is our recommendation to the Board of Education.
And if I could say Bussy as well. They did an excellent job on Bussy's property.
Great. They're doing an excellent job everywhere. We have some trees that we didn't know were trees until they shaped them up and trimmed them back. So
Thought it was a weed.
we did. And they were the ones that cleaned out the courtyards at many of the schools also. So they're working feverishly, and they do a great job with the snow removal in the winters as well. I think this is their 2nd year here with the district, so we're recommending a 3-year extension.
Sounds good.
They are also
Trustees?
local and minority owned, which I know are two
They
items
are.
that the board is interested in keeping
Mr.
track
Payne
of.
is a staple in this city.
Yes, he is.
So it's good to know that we are supporting. Trustees, is there a motion to open and approve?
So moved.
Wonderful. It's been properly moved and supported. Is there any other discussion? Hearing none. Board Secretary, please call for the vote.
Trustee Belk.
Yes.
Trustee Bland.
Yes.
Trustee Holloway.
Yes.
Trustee Johnson.
Yes.
Trustee Joyce.
Yes.
Myself, yes. Trustee Wirdavall.
Yes.
Unanimous.
Motion carried. M&N Financial Report and Monthly Bill Disbursement. Everyone should have received those and been able to look through them. Does anyone have any pertinent questions this evening regarding M and N. Please know that Mr. Ingram, Dr. Green, and the rest of the staff is available via email, phone, and text. If there are any non-pertinent questions regarding M and N.
Keep it to yourself.
LMNOP.
Hearing none, wonderful. Public participation. If you wish to address the board regarding a school-related issue that has not yet been resolved to school administration, please submit a comment card immediately. Comments are limited to 3 minutes per individual. As a matter of fairness, speakers with complaints against individuals are asked not to mention any persons by name. Complaints concerning employees pursuant to Board Policy 9130 should be brought to the attention of school principals or other administrators before coming to the Board of Education. Your cooperation is appreciated. Hearing none. For the good of the order. So I have one thing that I want to address. And we do not respond to public participation, but we are very aware of the news and the coverage that has taken place regarding our football situation. So let me just put 3 things out there. The first, the board was notified when it happened. As soon as I found out it happened, I placed individual calls to each board member explaining what happened, when it happened, how it happened, and what the involvement was from law enforcement. I kept the board abreast of the young man's status as far as whether or not he was in the hospital, whether or not he was okay, and let them know that Dr. Green and team, along with law enforcement, would be taking care of it. So we knew about this situation. We actually knew extensively. We had details. I spoke with Dr. Green, I spoke with James Jackson, I spoke with AD, and I spoke with the coach. So I just want the public to know that we do empathize with that mother. Situations that are involving law enforcement, we do not make it a habit to speak about them during a public meeting. But we are aware. We hold our football players to a high standard, and we're going to continue to, as you heard the AD say today. So I just wanted to make that known. And Dr. Green, if there was anything that you wanted to elaborate surrounding that situation.
Absolutely. While we were aware that the situation occurred, we do not have specifics. As you mentioned, this is now under law enforcement. Therefore, we do not comment. We allow law enforcement to do their job. And if we intervene in any way, shape, or form, we can be charged with obstruction of justice. Therefore, we cannot comment on it. But to your point, we were made aware. We did not, nor do we have the fine details, because that is a law enforcement issue. The situation did not occur on our campus, and it did not occur during our school hours. So again, our children are always our children, regardless as to where they are. And once we have the findings from law enforcement, we then will be able to respond appropriately and issue discipline where discipline is warranted.
Thank you for that. Does anyone else have anything for the good of the order?
Are we planning to recycle these thick packets of paper?
We do have a shredder, and we do have a recycling company that comes in.
Does that
We
mean
take it
yes?
downstairs. Yes, I can't guarantee that Ms. Foster's going to carry it downstairs tonight, but yes, we do have the ability to do that tomorrow. Yes, she just said tomorrow, yes.
Anyone else?
So we're kind of caught between a rock and a hard place with this, right? Because we were sending out everything electronically, but
And then
then people
trustees
wanted to
asked
reference
for-
it, so that's why we started printing them out. We can very well go back to electronic, we want them printed?
No, I don't want it printed.
Okay, so we just need consensus, because this is like 200 pages
is.
per trustee.
I don't need it. I always bring my laptop, and as soon as I see this, I'm like, well, I guess I don't need my laptop, but.
So, yeah. For the record, trustees, do you need the full document printed outside of just the agenda and the baseline of what the report is? Do you need the full,
The
the supporting
documentation.
documentation added in here? Okay.
You mean like those
I mean like the extra 200 pages.
Presentation from AD.
So you have your agenda, which is normally like 17 pages, and then you have supporting documentation. So Ms. Foster printed the supporting documentation for us today. That's why it looks like this. So I'm asking you all, because I need us to stand firm on this. Do we want this printed out for us consistently?
We can receive it electronically.
Okay. Anyone else have anything? Are you okay with printing from home? Is that okay? I know, I've seen you do it, yes. So, okay. So to Trustee Johnson's point, we will not kill the tree next month. Okay. Thank you for that, Trustee Johnson. Trustees, anything else for the good of the order?
These lovely photos of before and after, are we putting these out?
What I've asked for a long time.
It's going to be on our bond, the bond portion of our website.
Okay,
Yes.
are we putting them on our social media at all?
Yes.
Okay, because I think, yeah, instead of.
Tells the story.
It does, it tells the story. And, you know, the pictures, now they're gonna be shredded.
We have the digital photos.
Now they're gonna be shredded.
We have the
Okay.
digital photos.
It's too much. Get her some food, y'all. Okay. Trustees, anything else for the good of the order? Hearing none. Future meetings, Tuesday, September 26th, special meeting at 6 p.m., October 10th, regular meeting at 7, and Tuesday, October 24th, regular meeting at 6 p.m. The only thing that I did not mention, and I apologize for this, trustees, as far as our board hearings, our student board hearings, we had discussed getting our rotating calendar and fixating student hearings on a specific day of the week at the same time monthly. That is something that we'll be moving forward on. So please look to your email for that. Dr. Green and I are looking at the calendar. I know previously it was on third. Was it the third Thursday?
It was Tuesday and Thursday.
Okay.
Were the board
Designated days, okay. So, we're looking to follow historical precedent and move forward that way.
And Tuesday seems to be the best day for the majority of the trustees, so we're looking at the first or third Tuesday.
Okay, thank you all so much. Closed session. Under Section 8A of the Open Meetings Act, the Board of Education is allowed to move to a closed session to discuss formal complaints or charges made against any employee if the staff member requests a closed session. Boards can go into closed session to consider the dismissal, suspension, or disciplining of a district employee or school board member if requested by the individual. Is there a motion to go into closed session?
So moved.
Support.
It's been properly moved to go into closed session. We will go into closed session at, oh, I'm sorry, Lord. I'm sorry. Is there any
Yes,
discussion?
today.
Yes, today. I packed last night. Is there any discussion? Listen, I listen to what the board wants. Now, wait a minute.
Keep going.
Okay. Is there any discussion? Y'all sure? Board Secretary, please call for the vote.
Trustee Weirdeval. Yes. Myself, yes. Trustee Joyce.
Yes.
Trustee Johnson.
Yes.
Trustee Holloway. Yes. Trustee Bland.
Yes.
Trustee Belk. Yes. Unanimous.
Motion carried. We will go into closed session at 10:25 p.m. 10:30. My God.
Good night, everybody. Y'all can stay, but if you don't, good night.
This is absolutely crazy.
Good night.
Hello.
Nice to meet you, Mr. Forrest. Thank you for joining.
How are you? Pleasure meeting you. I'm Yvette. Nice to meet you.